That was quick.
What was that?
Well, it has been quite the morning, and it will continue to be so. Thank you for joining us this morning. Lovely to see you guys here. Johnny Million is with us, of course, and in this hour, we will be having Chris Titus, if the internet loves us, at the half-hour break, and then, of course, Dino Badala is going to join us in the next hour to talk about the impeachment shenanigans that went on this morning. And are they shenany? They're beautiful. Johnny, have you been watching? Did you get up this morning and?
No, I did see some highlights already. It's already the Philadelphia is already going viral.
Oh yes. Well, I'm gonna play a little bit of that for those of you that haven't participated, haven't had a chance to enjoy that part of it. This morning, this was supposed to be wrapped up today, and this is how all along the beg your pardon, the Republicans have been begging for this to be over. They're counting on, the Republicans and Trump have counted on this kind of appetite for newness that we have in the American media and in the American public, and hoping that, and our appetite for it is so high that at some point we get bored of everything. No matter how exciting it is, we will get bored of whatever they're talking about. And in the case of the impeachment, they were hoping, okay, we get this done by Saturday. Everybody will be so caught up in getting the other thing done. We'll pretend that Trump never did anything wrong and that it was settled, not that it was brushed over. And that has been the strategy. The fix is in. Don't make too much of a case. And if anything, make it about how cartoonishly bad Trump's lawyers are. Because again, Trump does not care if he wins on merits. He doesn't actually think you are that impressive. If you're the fastest runner and you win the race, to Trump, that's not impressive. It just means, like you were a sucker. You trained hard. You showed up on time. You did everything right. But if you can win and never train a day, it turns out you gave arsenic, flowers in the attic, arsenic cookies to everybody on the team as a thank you gift beforehand, but they can't trace it back to you, and they all fall down midway, and you just walk to victory because everyone else has been cheated out of their chance. To Trump, that's a much bigger win, because any sucker can win on the merits. If you deserve to win, what's the big deal? But in the case of, especially in court, like if you look back at what Michael Cohen has talked about, how he's dealt with like groups of people who have bought, like condo ownership groups in his buildings and stuff who fought him in court. By cheating them, he feels like that's the real victory. That if I can, if I just win because I win, who cares? Well, this has been, the sort of sideline of this is Trump knew the fix was in. The Republicans guaranteed him the fix was in. Mitch McConnell, everybody had already decided that they were going to vote this way. This is it. It's a moot point. You really don't even need to hire the best attorneys in this situation. Why would you pay top dollar? Why would you pay top dollar and risk your best boxer for a fight is fixed?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You end up getting like, what if One Punch Mickey the One Punch machine gun from Snatch is in the ring and he knocks your great fighter out because you thought it was a fix? Why bother? Why pay millions of dollars for competent lawyers when the jury has been tampered with for chump change for free? So Trump, and there's a secondary benefit to this, is that if Trump is found guilty or is, enough senators don't show up so that the 2/3 vote doesn't require 17 people to vote against it, because we got 55 votes today for witnesses. There's a solid 5 people on the fence about this stuff and would love to go down in history as the people who stood against Donald Trump. And if there's 10 of those and a bunch of other people vote present or don't show up for the vote, the 2/3 balance gets all cattywampus. So, but if he wins, if he's acquitted in this, the idea is on Trump's side that he did it with the crappiest lawyers ever. And if he loses, he had crappy representation. He wants get a do-over. I had bad reps. You hired him. So today, I want to play you a little piece of what just transpired. I'd play you Jamie Raskin's segment, but it's perfunctory, short, and very normal. It's just like, we got this new information. We'd like to depose this witness and call them, and that's all we have. And today's the day we're supposed to talk about that, so we're talking about that today. And then comes Trump's lawyers, and it's a thing of beauty. Here we go. Because, it's Good Morning American People. It's a new show that's taking place on the Senate floor. Oh.
That's wrong. There's one article of impeachment and there's one charge, and that's incitement of violence and insurrection. What you all need to know and the American people need to know is, as of late yesterday afternoon, there was a stipulation going around that there weren't going to be any witnesses. But after what happened here in this chamber yesterday, the House managers realized they did not investigate this case before bringing the impeachment. They did not give the...
They were actually there. I mean, that kind of does factor in. This is one of the odd situations where the term investigation, like, we want to talk to some witnesses who were actually there on the day. We were here on the day.
Yeah.
For consideration and work. They didn't put the work in. That was...
Yeah, he calls them lazy and constantly accuses them of trampling on the Constitution. It's a good look.
Necessary to impeach the former president. But if they want to have witnesses, I'm going to need at least over 100 depositions, not just one. The real issue is incitement. They put into their case over 100 witnesses, people who have been charged with crimes by the federal government. And each one of those...
By the way, you're about to hear an egregious and silly lie. I shouldn't have to preface that, but listen, see if you can hear what it actually,
They said that Mr. Trump was a co-conspirator with. That's not true. But I have the right to defend that.
So it's a full-on straw man. The idea that he co-conspired with the people who, stormed up, like you conspire with people when you incite a riot. You know what I mean? The idea of even inciting a riot is based largely on the idea that you don't know the vast majority of them. You couldn't possibly. Otherwise, it's you and your family and friends attacked the bank, right? But the difference in terms of this is that he's reading it as the people that were inspired by him and had planned to be there because they thought that's what the president wanted. They heard what they needed to hear from him, and they started on their way. Even the ones that went early to the Capitol and breached before and thought they were following the orders of the president. Nobody co-conspires with their general when you're a private in an army or if you're an infantryman. You don't co-conspire with them. You follow orders that you think are valid, and you receive them and you carry them out. But again, this is an enormous straw man.
The only thing that I ask, if you vote for witnesses, do not handcuff me.
Wow.
Yeah, he's very excitable.
By limiting the number of witnesses that I can have. I need to do a thorough investigation that they did not do.
Wait, it gets better.
Wow.
I need to do the 911 style investigation that Nancy Pelosi
He means 9/11, by the way.
called for.
That drives me crazy.
Right.
It should have been done already. It's a dereliction of the House.
By the way, it should have been done already. The 9/11 Commission was months and months, but it should have been done already.
Right. Manager's duty that they didn't. And now at the last minute, after a stipulation had apparently been worked out, they want to go back on that. I think that's inappropriate and improper. We should close this case out today.
Yeah, this dude wants out of here. The more attention that's paid to any of this, the worse it gets.
We have each prepared our closing arguments.
And I have nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 8 days to get ready for this thing.
Yeah, so it's not his fault that he's terrible at his job.
He's really bad at this.
Yeah.
Each
He's
had
pinched.
those 8 days equally together to prepare ourselves. And the House managers need to live with the case that they brought.
No, they don't. In any circumstance where you go, Your Honor, there's new evidence, it's brand new to us, and it's brand new to the defense. If they need time to look at it, that's what we'll do. But we're going to put it in. Like, in what world would you're about to give your closing argument in a murder case? We always go to the most egregious format ever. And you find the knife, right? And you're like, Your Honor, in searching, people coming into the courtroom, we found a knife that has the initials of the murderer on it.
Right.
One of his sycophantic supporters of, one of his serial killer groupies brought it in. We need to have it tested. We think it's the actual one. It says inscribed on it, "To my dearest, here's the murder weapon you always wanted." We'd like to enter that No. Sorry. I already wrote my closing argument, Your Honor. We can't proceed with this. This is madness.
But if they don't, please, in all fairness and in all due process.
By the way, that's the whole due process thing drives me nuts. We're going to take a break in 1 second, but I want him to say this.
Do not limit my ability to discover.
Discover
The truth. That would be another sham.
Well, then interview your client.
And that's the president's position, my position.
When I come back, I want to, it gets worse. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, I'm going to play a little bit more from, that's Vander Veen, the president's lawyer. The guy who's, is emotionally what Castor is in terms of details. If you've got one attorney who's terrible at law and kind of cognitive thought, you've got another one that is emotionally on edge at all times.
Sure.
Back right after this. It's the House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Chris Titus is joining us at the half hour, and then Dino Badal at the top of the next hour. It's going to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. This is starting to fly. I think it sounds okay. All that's good.
Yep.
You
Heard that.
All right. Okay, good. There's so much in Philadelphia. Oh God, wait till you hear that part. Jesus.
That guy's a mess.
Yeah, dude, these
People are just laughing at him.
I know. How do
they spin that later?
I didn't have time to prepare. I was just spinning to cover my butt. And it's really the safe way to go. And all of that. Let's see. I need to grab another new window. There we go. I want to open up the chat. Sorry, guys. I've been running all the digital stuffages this morning. Hi, chat room. Good morning. How are you? Is Trump trying to get it to the Supreme Court? There is no Supreme Court to this.
Right.
You can't appeal an impeachment to the Supreme Court, not in the traditional sense. Thank you. It's a political act. So the leeway that the Senate rules, like it's like taking the Senate rules to the Supreme Court. They can set their own rules, and if they could break their own rules if everybody votes on breaking their own rules. Like if you played along, yeah. Hey. What's happening, everybody? Welcome. And you can, of course, watch the show streaming at any of your favorite social media sites. The Facebook page is, of course, the Hal Sparks page. And we're on Twitter, if you view via Periscope, as many people are as they live tweet what's the madness that's kind of currently going on in the Senate. If you didn't watch this morning, and if you didn't hear right before the break, we were playing lawyer Van der Veen for the Trump side, and he was very upset that they were going to call witnesses. And by the Democrats requesting that they depose and call one witness who had overheard Kevin McCarthy having an argument with Donald Trump, which, by the way, between McCarthy and Tuberville, we now know that Trump knew that Pence's life was in danger and when, and that he tweeted basically the hell with Mike Pence tweet while knowing concurrently, while he found out from Tommy Tuberville and then speaking to Kevin McCarthy, that the vice president's life was in danger and that he had been moved to a secure location because the people there were seeking to murder him. And the president knew this, didn't care. And that's one of the big things that they're afraid will come out. And McCarthy had this argument, this comes out yesterday, with Trump, where he's going that, the president, these people have broken through the glass. They're broken into my office. They're coming in through the windows. And Trump said, I guess these people care more about the election than you do. And McCarthy said, who the F do you think you are, to the president?
I thought he said, who the F do you think you're talking to?
Yeah, that's right. Who the F do you think you're talking to? That's correct. And I guess we'll find out the exact quote when we get witnesses, because that's what's happening today. And Congresswoman Butler, Congresswoman Butler, apparently at one point, she was getting the story related to her, as were multiple other Congress people. There are multiple witnesses to this conversation because McCarthy briefed them on the call afterwards, meaning he was so pissed he just blathered about it. That in the process of that, she wrote down what he said. She made copious notes because that's what you do.
Yeah.
And what it does show is the timeline of the dereliction of duty aspect of him, inciting a riot and the like, and the fact that those are kind of like all written in are a major factor. Well, we'll see some of the pushback right now. So Jeremy Raskin comes back up to the stand to basically redress what we were listening to before the break. There's some element of, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, this is the proper time that we were assigned to talk about witnesses. This is completely within the course of the rules set forth by the Senate. There's nothing remotely unusual about this. I think we've done an exceedingly thorough and comprehensive job with all the evidence that was available. Last night, this was breaking news, and it responded directly to a question that was being raised by the President's Defense Counsel, saying that we had not sufficiently proven to their satisfaction, although I think we've proven to the satisfaction of the American people, certainly, that the President, after the breach and the invasion took place, was not working on the side of defending the Capitol, but rather was continuing to pursue his political goals. And the information that came out last night by Congresswoman Butler, apparently backed up by contemporaneous notes that she had taken, I think will put to rest any lingering doubts raised by the president's counsel, who now says he wants to interview hundreds of people. There's only one person the president's counsel really needs to interview, and that's their own client. And bring him forward, as we suggested last week, because a lot of this is matters that are in his head. Well, why did he not act to defend the country after he learned of the attack? Why was he continuing to press the political case? But this piece of evidence is relevant to that.
Yeah, it is. And now,
finally, but I wasn't.
By the way, right as Raskin was finishing, they bum rushed Vanderbeen just bum rushed the stand again, like before he was even finished. Like, he's freaking out.
I was a little bit mystified by the point about the article of impeachment, which I referred to. The dereliction of duty, the desertion of duty, is built into the incitement charge, obviously. If the president of the United States is out inciting a violent insurrection, he's obviously not doing his job at the same time. Just like if a police officer is mugging you, yeah, he's guilty of theft and armed robbery, whatever it might be, but he's also not doing his job as a police officer. So it's further evidence of his intent and what his conduct is.
And then, bang, Vanderbeen is like racing to the mic.
First of all, it's my understanding, it's been reported that Mr. McCarthy disclaims the rumors that
it's not a rumor. She has contemporaneous notes that the call happened. This is, by the way, he's going to talk about Mike Lee's phone call as well. Mike Lee was, handed the phone to Tuberville. That's all true. Just for the record, before he even gets into this.
Been the basis of this morning's antics, but really the rumors that have been the basis of this entire proceeding. This entire proceeding is based on rumor, report, innuendo. There's nothing to it, and they didn't do their work. Just like what happened with Mr. Lee 2 or 3 nights ago, some supposed conversation had happened, and they had to withdraw that. They had to back off of that because it was false. It was a false narrative.
No, it wasn't. It was literally like he called me. He thought he was calling Tommy Tuberville. He called my phone. I handed it to Tommy and they spoke. That's the whole thing. Nobody did, even Lee didn't understand what he was disputing at that point.
But it is one article of impeachment. Yeah, they threw a lot of stuff in it in violation of Rule 23. Rule 23 says you cannot combine counts. It's a defect in their entire case. It's one of the 4 reasons why you can vote to acquit in this case. Jurisdiction, Rule 23.
The jurisdiction part is weird. Like, what does he think? We're not in D.C.? This isn't the well of the Senate? Like, it's weird.
Due process and the First Amendment.
Due process, of course, is what he's actually getting. The First Amendment doesn't cover incitements of violence. Like, it's like and then ultimately Rule 23, which is the idea that he said that they couldn't combine charges as far as high crimes and misdemeanors. But what falls from, I mean, you heard Raskin.
They all apply in this case. Let me take my own advice and cool the temperature in the room a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's about the incitement. It's not about what happened afterwards. That's actually the irrelevant stuff. That's the irrelevant stuff. It's not the things that were said from the election to January 6th. It's not relevant to the legal analysis of the issues that are before this body. It doesn't matter what happened after the insurgents into the Capitol building.
No?
Because that doesn't have to do with incitement. Incitement it's a point in time.
What about not stopping them?
It's a point in time, guys. We got to take a break. Chris Titus is waiting in the wings. I'm very excited to talk to this young man.
Sweet.
As whippersnapper gets to join us via the interwebs. I think he's calling from his chalet in the mountains someplace. I think
Nice.
it's north of. It's he'll have to describe it to us, but I think it's built based on the specs in Atlas Shrugged. It's basically a hollowed out mountain. It's very
Right on.
yeah, it's very impressive. We're gonna take a break when we come back because I want Chris Titus to be here as well to hear the streets of Philadelphia as reminisced about by Vander Veen, the president's lawyer. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Parts Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT820.com. We'll be back. Hold on. There he is. Wait, there he is. Hey,
What's up, people?
look at
How you doing,
you.
man?
Hi.
How are things? Can you hear me okay? Everything good?
Yeah.
Are we streaming okay? Can you hear me? Mayday.
Yes, you sound good.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear us? We hear you.
Now I lost you.
Hold on.
Here you go, gotcha.
Okay. We hear you. You can hear us?
Perfect.
You good?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, like it. What's happening? Is it
That's Groucho.
Except his mustache is real, which I think
Yeah,
is
exactly.
ironically wonderful. So we're in break. We'll be back in like a minute or so. We'll hear from
Cool.
Chicago, and then we'll jump right in, and then we'll do 2 segments. I'm playing. I want to make sure. I think you'll hear the same audio as Johnny, but I'm playing Vander Veen's statements, and I'm sure you saw it this morning. The whole Philadelphia business and his flip out. So
It's really funny because it was like when you say something as a comic on stage and an audience laughs in a place where they shouldn't laugh. Like he had no idea what he had done wrong. It was awesome to watch.
oh god,
I think Trump is just anybody who calls himself a lawyer. Trump's like, okay, represent me.
Do I have to pay you? No?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I won't anyway. Don't worry about it.
It's brutal. Like and you could tell they were just like, let's pull the ripcord and get out.
Yeah, it's going to be. Well, we'll talk about it when we go.
Yeah.
And by the way, my chalet, hilarious.
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Chris Titus, he's joining us. Chris, you made it. I'm very excited to have you here with Johnny Million and myself. Johnny, Chris, Johnny. I think this is the first time you guys are meeting.
Yeah, never met you. Nice to meet you, Chris.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. And, we're big fans, by the way, ChristopherTitus.com for those of you that need the who's and the what fors right now. And you can, of course, follow Titus Nation on Twitter. I believe that's the proper handle. I've been following you so long. I don't know if, that's correct. Yeah.
Titus Nation. And I apologize in advance for if you follow me on Twitter. Also, Christopher Titus TV if you want to see all the videos like young Hal does.
Yes, indeed. That's right. That's how we work it. So you've been following some of this stuff, and of course from your mountain lair. I pictured it it's a little more beige than I pictured. I always thought it would look like Red Skull's place in the Captain America First Avenger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is quiet. My dog is barking. Yeah. By the way, stop. You got to get the dog out of here, Ray. So,
no. I think it's wholly appropriate.
So yeah, we have a place up on the mountain. I had it when I had my TV show years ago. I kept because the world seemed to be coming apart. So we've stocked it with food, water, and guns. So we're ready in case. And I just thought with the trial going on, I might as well be here just in case things go sideways.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it did go sideways, but mainly for the president's team today. As we were talking about, the one thing that they were avoiding was the idea of having witnesses, because the biggest witness of all, of course, is Trump, right? I mean, he knows what was going on in his head about 50% of the time. And in this case, he's the guy who could tell you, I was thinking this when I called him, right? And you could say under oath, you could go, well, you said you were feeling this, but you did this. Why does that not match up? Court stuff. So,
but also when we all heard that Trump was going to be called as a witness, sorry to interrupt you. Didn't we all get excited? We got like, oh, this is going to be so good because now he's not the president. So if he lies, he himself and we have any backup, he's done anyway. I think the man has a long legal trek for a while, for the next 2 years at least.
No question. Yes. Well, there were other aspects. There was reports today that he could be cited in the death of Officer Sicknick, which, of course, in a normal world, he absolutely would. But the fact that that's news is kind of indicative of something. But let's listen to. We've heard the part where he's arguing where they have no case because of his 4 red herrings, and he's thrown a couple of straw mans up. But this is the fun part. Here you go.
It's a point in time when the words are spoken and the words say, implicitly say, explicitly say.
And I think those mean different things.
Commit acts of violence or lawlessness. And we don't have that here. So for the House managers to say we need depositions about things that happened after, it's not true.
The idea, by the way, his concept here, in case you're having a hard time following it for the who's at home, is that there was one moment of incitement. You have to call it that he went, go, like he fired a marathon pistol in the sky. That was the point. Instead of the fact that it was like ongoing enticement and incitement, both leading up to the speech. And then once they were in there, he wasn't telling them to call it off and go home. They could have, he as president of the United States could have said, pump me into the intercoms in the Capitol building. I want to talk to those people. If you support me, go home, get out of there. He absolutely could have done that in a second. And the fact that he didn't is ridiculous. But they want to pin this on one moment.
But I just love that. That's so for 1 second of saying we need to fight at the Capitol. I don't know why he went Jerry Lewis in that one phrase. Watch the speech when he's doing it. Capitol. So the legal argument is that after he said we need to fight, once they walked into the Capitol, and Trump had no more responsibility whatsoever. Yet the incitement was here. Here's what I don't quite get. I don't get any of it. I don't get that they're saying that he didn't know where Pence was. Really? So the other guy who's the second most powerful person in the world with a nuclear football of his own, the president who sent people who had no concept that was in the Capitol. I'm a little bit just Trump. My hair, I had a full head of hair like you as of yesterday. Last days, that's why I'm yanking it out. My wife and my wife's upstairs just hearing me go, "Oh, come on!" That's our response to the whole thing.
That's right.
The impeachment, the House managers are awesome.
Yeah, they are, and they're very patient, considering watching the emotional flip out. But let's continue with this because I want to get to the part that I know you're waiting for as well. But
if he does, there are a lot of depositions that need to be happened. Nancy Pelosi's deposition needs to be taken. Vice President Harris's deposition absolutely needs to be taken, and not by Zoom. None of these depositions should be done by Zoom. We didn't do this hearing by Zoom. These depositions should be done in person, in my office, in Philadelphia. That's where they should be done.
Listen, that's the entire, by the way, that was a moment of unity. What we heard.
Exactly. A bipartisan mobbing.
That's right. That was a bipartisan heckle. And listen to his response.
I don't know how many civil lawyers are here, but that's the way it works, folks. When you want somebody's deposition, you send a notice of deposition, and they appear at the place where the notice says. That's civil process. I don't know why you're laughing. It is civil process.
I have a reason. I have an idea why they might be laughing. That we've been video deposing people since the Clinton trial, and that you're ridiculous. Never mind the fact that you're going to get the vice president and the Speaker of the House in your office in Philadelphia. Jesus.
That's why they were laughing. I think if people. There wasn't one thing. I don't know why you're laughing. Well, we don't really either because there was a list.
Yes, right. It was like we all have a different reason, but we all share that you're insane. This is and this is quite telling, by the way. This goes to the like incompetence as a defense, where Trump hires cheap lawyers who are bad at their job, so that if he loses, he can say my lawyer screwed up. And in reality,
His thing is, you just mentioned if you're a lawyer or saw a lot of Matlock, he's like, okay, go for it.
Right? Yeah. And by the way, it's weird that you bring up Matlock. Is that a Q mountaintop thing? Because that happened to be Q's password. I don't know if you followed that part of it.
He was my entertainment.
Oh, right. Yeah. That explains a lot, actually. ChristopherTitus.com. And this is going to be now, they're working out the details. They're going to settle on. I have my own theories. I'm curious to hear both of your theories about how they're going to settle on what witnesses and when. Any theories? If you need a 9-volt battery mailed to you, I'm glad to do it.
Sorry, my internet is kerosene powered, so I think we're trouble.
Right, good.
I think what's going to happen is they need to get the people who heard Kevin McCarthy speaking, because I just love that Kevin McCarthy said what he said. Who the F do you think you're talking to? Which is like a rare moment of sack from Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
And I told the thread of, well, we're going to call 300 witnesses. Okay. Biden's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take as much time as you guys need.
Yeah. At what point do you actually think you're going to kind of like bring up I don't know, the election again? Because that's what they're hoping for. That they think, oh yeah, well, if you call a witness about what Trump did on the 6th, we're going to call witnesses. We're going to call Rudy Giuliani to bring in Hunter's laptop. Right. That's the idea.
Yeah. And that Blanchett, Rudy will fart up this entire chamber, people.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll have those gas masks back on in the well. Everybody be walking around with those plastic bags on their head with the bed. This is so. Yeah. So over the course of the, this, the next, my guess, is they're going to agree on a number of witnesses, probably less than 5. And the Democrats will again request Trump to, if not subpoena him and see if he tries to say, well, because of executive privilege while I was president, I don't have to tell you all the murderous things I was doing. Now, we're almost to the break, and I know I hope we can stick around with us to the break. Yeah, but good.
Isn't Trump not calling? The man has he's a sociopath. There's no rules. There's no point. Even they know they can do it to see how the Republicans act, which I would say we're going to do it just to watch them flip out. That's right. Again, that he's guilty of sin. But there's up on the Senate. It's just a waste of time for everybody. Don't you agree?
I agree. I will say this though, that what's important about viewing Trump post-presidency is a recognition over time of his fallibility and weakness by the people who are his sycophantic followers. And any situation where Trump is deposed or any of those things, he will look fundamentally weak to those people.
Yeah, well, let's park the plane behind him. They got to park the plane behind him in the chamber, and then it'll be better. I always said that people keep saying, "I'm going to have power for so long." I said, "No, he's not. Once he gets out of office, he's going to become actual size, and we're all going to see what a fraud this dude has been."
Yes, and that's the issue that we have with, that's why having him actually testify would have value to it, because in that circumstance, they're going to look at this guy sitting there with lawyers on either side telling him what not to say. He's going to be petulant, sweaty, annoyed. He'll rail at some point. Ted Cruz will throw him some softballs so he can repeat some stuff from the rallies. And we had our election stolen, and then there'll be an objection and yada, yada. But that ultimately he'll look fundamentally weak because he is. And if he's in a situation where he's not in control of the narrative, which he isn't under oath, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. When we come back, I do want to ask you about sort of, and we will and some of the folks are saying audio is choppy. I will fix that during the break. Fear not. But when I come back, I want to talk about, the other people they should bring forward, the other witnesses we'd like to see, because I've got a couple in mind, and I'm sure you do too. And some of them are technically jurors in this case. We'll be back right after this with more Chris Titus and Johnny Million. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio. Talk. Thanks,
is my internet just shitty?
It's a little choppy audio-wise. It's okay. Just it's just the nature.
Closed every window. I just closed every window we had, and so
close every window. Climb every mountain.
Or is it? We'll just keep going.
Yeah,
we'll keep going.
We'll manage. I can hear you. I can make it out. It can be a little odd, and it's just reality. I've seen worse on MSNBC, so I don't feel that.
Yeah, it's great to watch. Just broadcast just come apart.
Yeah, we're all equal. Like the great equalizer was the friggin' pandemic. Like, when I have a better camera at my house than Rachel Maddow does. I'm like, okay, at some point, all that self-teching actually paid off. That's
hey man, if we still have this. If you want to do stand-up, man, we have a sound stage with 3 cameras, and we shoot like a comedy special.
I'm for it. Let's do it.
I'll call you when I get to the camera.
I love that. When you come down from
worldwide, so we'll use all your people. It's $10, and you can make the nice.
All right. The whole thing sounds very sexy. I've been doing all these things in front of a green screen in my office with this thing pulled down.
We have a setting, cameras and lights, and very nice.
Yeah. I'm a pro.
Sorry the internet's so bad.
That's okay. Welcome back to the show. I'm Hal Sparks. Chris Titus is our guest, and Johnny Million still with us, playing chat and messing with his cat, and I think just
doing all the things.
Yeah, it's doing all this stuff. And I'm going to say right out of the gate that if we could call a witness, if I could have a dream witness, it would be Carter Page. No, it would be Eric.
Wow.
Yeah, and in the case of God knows, like the family or who was around Trump, who was actually there. You know what I mean? Who was actually a part of the? Hold on, and there. You guys are getting an echo now. That's very strange. That's me. That's not anybody else but me. Nobody is follow mine. Yeah.
Is that better?
Is that better? Yeah. Oh, I see what it is. Okay, hold on one second. I can fix that. That's on me.
Right now, guys.
Yeah, cool. So in this particular case, I think we're good. I think that's okay. Can you guys hear me okay? You good?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So now as far as Dream Witness, I want everybody to pony one up or whatever. But I need, for all practical purposes, I need either Pence. McCarthy's the obvious one. McCarthy is the guy you want to bring in because he said it. The other one would be, of course, Tommy Tuberville. Now, he's supposed to, be a juror in this. He's going to vote on this. So
yeah, I think having Paul Coach as a major witness in a trial is probably good. A guy who's been there 3 weeks, I think it's a good idea. So he won't know the process of it. I think so. It seems like our witness list is not very deep. I would like Kid Hitler, Josh Hawley. That's who I would like. I would really like.
Right.
Know damn well there was some pre-phone calls made, damn well. And if people, it's so funny. This happened in the Capitol. If you don't know or think that the FBI or every other NSA agency have these phone calls, you're insane. What do you think? They just don't quite cover the Capitol? Is that what you think? Because that's what's going to happen is I think that the House managers probably know more than they're letting on, trying to follow the procedure. But Hawley and Cruz, I don't want Cruz because I just can't stand to hear the man talk. God.
This is a situation where, Donald, you're a coward, except when you call my wife fat and ugly. That's fine. Like that dude, I don't understand how he goes home. I don't know. I don't understand how you look your wife in the face ever after that. It boggles my mind. Graham, I think both you guys may have noticed, switched his vote this morning. Now, there's different theories abound. The primary one being, and the procedural one being, which I think gives him more credit than he deserves, is that he can later use it as a way to claw back his vote if it doesn't turn out the way he wanted. So you vote against something, you can't make a procedural argument to remove it because you already did. You were already voting against it. So shut up and take your vote. But if you voted for it, you can go, no, this isn't what I voted for. I need a moment to address on the floor what I thought the vote was about, and this is going in another direction, or we need to narrowly focus this. And that's the reason McConnell would do it. There's a lot of other. I mean, what's your theory about Graham doing it?
Graham, Graham is so lost right now. He is Gollum. He is locked he's double and tripling. He doesn't know who he is. Whatever that video is that Trump has on him is got to be really bad. Graham, I've actually kind of pushed Graham to the side. Even when he talks, I just feel like, okay, he's changed this thing again. This whole thing, threatening with 300 witnesses, again, I'm not quite sure what that threat is. Oh, you mean we'll have even more evidence that this was horrible?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And aren't these guys mostly lawyers? Like, shouldn't you guys be better at this?
Yes. They all know it. They all know better. That's the stunning part. I guess ultimately, and you and I both know this, it's really not about what they know and what their education or their background tells them, but what they think they can get away with, right? Yeah. It's how dumb they think the audience is, right? Because that's a large part of this.
Well, the audience over the last 4 years has actually proved that they're pretty dumb. So I don't think they can't really miss a target there. But here's the thing. Here's what we've lost. And I wrote about this last night. I just kind of I had this feeling I had this cold moment where I was like, we have given up morality, the right, the right as opposed to being wrong. We've become these hateful just beings of I got to win no matter what. And it's sad to see that our leaders who we pay have no concept of morality or integrity. It's all about winning. We know this guy's he's a reality television star hack who, by the way, guys, wasn't loyal to his vice president. He actually sent a mob to kill the vice president. Do you think he's up in the primary? Do you?
Right.
Do you? How dumb are you guys?
Well, that's the fear point with these guys. These are, they're operating with, will he have and probably does he have power? Now, I believe that if they had a secret ballot, that Cruz and Hawley and all these guys would actually vote to convict because and pretend they didn't. They'd be the first one. I voted to actually protect the president, even though they voted to convict, so that they could guarantee he couldn't run next time, and still scoop up all the maggots, still scoop all the Trumpsters up in those votes and go, I defended the president, even though they didn't, and run, a run in his stead, effectively taking over the mantle of the MAGA world.
But here's about those people. So when any of these guys who went to Princeton or Yale and thinks they're going to Trump's base is insane. Not only that, but they're shiny object people. Trump was a shiny object from a reality television show. These guys, no one's going to step into that mantle and take that mantle unless it's someone insane. I mean, who could take Marjorie Taylor Greene is the only person that could literally step up because she is those people. And I quite understand what they think.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, we've known
the Republicans are in it. Yeah.
You and I know the audience. We're on the road all the time. These people are distracted. Once Trump is gone and he fades and the economy comes back, which it's already doing, and people get vaccinated, they're going to move on. I believe that the GOP is just literally just slicing its wrists every day now, and just only because I tour the country and I know these people, you know, because my act is really a lot of fart jokes. The point is that
right, know your audience, right?
On a daily basis, they just keep cutting their wrists. They just don't understand what's going to happen.
Yeah, agreed. And I also think there's too much there's a lot of NASCAR, football, and other things that are shiny objects that will distract them right to it. They'll be yelling at The Bachelor in the same way they were yelling for Trump. You know what I mean? They will have it. They'll phone trees for The Voice and that kind of stuff. And really, that's how they occupied their time before Trump. You think it's going to change? You know what I mean? The difference is that they'll write off politics. They may, you know, come back home during the next presidential thing, but they'll kind of be disenfranchised and mad during the midterms, perhaps. And that's the big fear also. You got to keep these people motivated and actuated.
But that's not going to happen. The reason they were motivated this time is because we're in the middle of a pandemic. And unless we get another pandemic or this continues for 4 years or 2 years, it's not going to happen. The vaccine will be done by July. Biden got all the vaccine. It's going to be over. People don't quite understand that it's over. Once TV goes back to and movies start coming out again, the reason the vote was so high, partly I believe people voted against Trump, not for Biden. But once that's over and life is back to normal, people aren't going to vote like they did. Yeah, people think that we've turned America around with this last one. No, we were in a 1 in 100-year pandemic. That's the only reason. And once everything comes back, it's over.
Well, I do think that there is a difference there. That's all right. No, there is one shift, and we're getting near the bottom of the hour. But the one shift I do think happens is that because people mailed in their vote for the first time and were enfranchised in a rarity, that they're not going to let go of that going forward. That a lot of people who do care, who were, you know, like they know they're going to have to stand in a 7-hour line, all that kind of stuff. Outside of states like Arizona, which are going to do everything to stop everybody from voting as much as they can, which doesn't have enough electoral votes to shift anything, every other big state with big cities in it is still going to have a robust mail-in vote functioning system, even if you know the Rudy Giulianis of the world try to beat it down over the next couple of years, and people aren't going to want to let it go. Colorado does it almost exclusively. There's a lot of cities that do it. There certainly rural states, it's way easier, so it'll catch on like crazy in all these places. And suddenly, these, you know, maybe it'll go purple states all of a sudden will start waking up to the fact that, you know, you can vote the mandate from home. You can actually go, you know, I don't have to go down there to a losing side. My state always goes red is a thought that's thought by enough people to flip every state.
Right. Michigan, Michigan too. Like, I think I like to thank every black person in America right now for getting out there and flipping this, because you carried it. But I think that everybody woke up to the fact, if we our ass and we do something, it changes. I mean, Georgia flipped. Damn, come on, people. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. So I think you're right. But you know, now that with the Democrats in charge, the good news is that we can actually maybe force through a voting rights thing again that will actually make it right. Because these guys are doing, and we got to stop this gerrymandering. My God, I was looking at some of the shapes, and literally it looks like a Rorschach test.
Wow. By the way, we're just getting a report that Dems are not going to call witnesses. They are going to add Butler's testimony, her statement, into the record. I don't know what the other side of it. Let's hear.
President's counsel have no further motions to discuss.
And Mr. President, we have no further motions either.
Excuse me, then the chair would note that neither party wishes to make further motions under Section 6 of Senate Resolution 47. Therefore, the next question is on admission of the evidence submitted by both parties pursuant to Section 8 of the resolution. The majority leader's
So
recommendation.
now, as we move to another matter, I'm advised that the House managers have no objection to the admission of evidence proposed to be admitted by the former President's counsel under the provisions of Section 8 of Senate Resolution 47, and that the President's counsel have no objections to the evidence proposed to be admitted into evidence by the House managers, pursuant to Section 8 of the resolution, as agreed to by Leader.
This is going to have to this is going to have to be worked out over the next little bit. But as far as what their procedural argument here and why, it's very curious. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Although whether they're going to call any today or whether they have the option to do the witnesses, this is very curious. We'll see how it plays out. But they're moving to closing arguments and submitting information.
Can they read this? I have a question. Can they read this into the record? Because by just submitting the statement and putting it in the record, the American public needs to hear this.
Won't hear it. Right. And I agree.
I would at least agree to read it into the record, because out loud, what went down. Because if Kevin Markey was on the phone going, dude, we got people here trying to kill us, stop it, and he said no, I think that was the one thing that rattled everybody on the right.
I agree.
The GOP they were willing to kill.
I'm curious. I'm curious what the argument is for even doing that. I'm sure we'll hear something, but that's a fascinating question right now. This is literally happening. We're at the end of the hour. Chris, thanks for making it with us, man, and I appreciate you calling us from your mountain lair. And good luck in your building your
I'll fix the satellites. Prep. I apologize for the internet, guys.
I'm sad I was not invited to Prepper Thanksgiving, but next year maybe that'll be the hope or whatever. I have giant cans of beans. That's all I'm saying. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio. ChristopherTitus.com is the website, and of course, Dean Obadala is going to be with us in just a moment. We'll be back right after this.
Sorry, man. I'm really sorry. This is messed up. We'll do this again from LA.
That's all right. No, it's good.
Clean.
Yeah, totally. We'll work it out. Fear not. I'm just glad to have you on, and thanks for being here. I'm gonna and Dean's waiting in the wings, so there he is. Hey, look at him. Hey, Dean, how are you?
Good.
How are you guys?
Chris, Dean, Johnny.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah. So,
hey guys, how are you guys?
Chris.
I see you guys.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
See you guys later. Bye, guys.
Okay. Cheers. Bye. So there you go. Yeah, now you're good. How's it going, brother?
Man, hang on, let me frame this the right way, because I'm like,
yes, line yourself. Where are you going?
There we go. Wait, I'm trying to promote my show because I'm
you're listening.
Because it's
this is that. Not even me. Just to keep that. I'll just
no. He's just listening to port. Right. Just show my logo. Yeah, you're like 107, the weird QAnon guy who only shows his boots.
I'm starting a new thing called S. And
are you?
Yeah, S and T. So I'm going to tell the QAnon people I've been talking to ST and XYZ are on board too. So we have a lot of stuff going on.
Right,
I'm trying to move this. So I'm not trying to really get that in. There we go. That's good.
No, it's good. It's perfect.
How's everything going now?
It's good, man. Thanks for being with us. We'll get a warning from Chicago in about a minute. Yeah.
They literally just started the closing. Jimmy Raskin, and he read that thing into the record. That because they stipulated that you could read into the record like it's evidence. It is evidence now. The comments by the Congresswoman Herrera Butler that Kevin McCarthy said. So it's in the. I mean, the truth.
You read it out loud.
Yeah, right. I mean, the truth is, we know it's not going to change anyone's mind. I think they did a great job. The House managers. At this point, there has to be a criminal trial of Donald Trump. If that's the only accountability. This is nothing. This is a game.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. And that's the part that's not necessarily in their control. We'll talk about this on the air, but I think that
No, I don't talk on air. I only talk backstage. I'm really good.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah,
when
it's all on the side.
One word answer. Like yes.
Well, no. I got you though.
Next.
I got you though because I'm always on the air. This is kind of like a Hulk's always angry thing.
Like, what is this?
We live stream, and then I have my radio show on Saturdays. And this is Johnny Million, Dean Obadala.
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
Hey there, everybody can hear you right now. The show never freaking stops.
So stops
on radio. But you're on radio, so you're simulcasting your live stream with the radio show. That's what's happening.
Yeah, it's yes. Normally, what it is that the radio show I simulcast on the web so that we can be, hence the title, Mega Worldwide, because it goes everywhere. And then it turned into a regular stream when the pandemic hit last year. and I started doing it daily, just to kind of like, be a buoy in the storm, right? And so, so everybody in the chat room is like, "We see you." Hold on.
You have a really active, engaged listenership, and this is remarkable. People are like, "Hey," whatever, and they're talking to you.
Yeah.
How can I chat? Can I chat, or they can only hear me?
Yeah, no, you can chat in there, but I think you have to be on one of the sites in there, or I think in this
you
thing.
gotta be on YouTube.
You got to be on YouTube or one of those.
Or Tinder.
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Tinder, Grindr.
But I can put the chat up next to us and watch it blaze by.
No, it's up to you. I'm just amazed. Some people are saying nice things about me. Some are bad mouthing me. It's fine. This is what we do now. But it's great to be on with you, Hal. You were kind enough to be on my show. We'd love to have you back on again, and maybe just you, because you're a great talker. I say this sincerely, not mocking.
Well, I appreciate that. What you mean is I filibuster, and everybody in my chat room knows exactly what you're talking about, because I'm a terrible host in terms of asking questions. It takes so much work for me to shut up and ask a question. I don't know how it's done.
Show. What? You have one. What am I talking about?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Coming back in 20? Okay, we'll be back in a second. So
hello, Dean.
Hey,
hello, people. Hey, Hal's friends your people are great.
Yeah.
Look at this.
They're amazing.
Man,
yeah.
Seriously.
Dude, they're the real deal. This is what non-bot followers look like.
Yeah.
People actually find the show.
I get what you're saying, Hal. Come on the show, you slammed around for no reason.
That's right. I was being so charming.
Mm-hmm.
He's with us. It happened. I'm very excited. I want to thank Chris Titus for being with us as well. But Dean Obeidallah has joined us today on the show. Of course, follow Dean Obeidallah on Twitter if you can spell it. You're really just throwing a monkey wrench in the whole kind of thing. Those are like Johnny and I. I was blessed with the name of a 30s B-list comic actor. Like Hal Sparks, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? Kind of a 1930s kind of a deal.
Sparks is your real name?
Yeah. Of course it is.
Stage name. I'm not. I didn't know that.
No.
I still think we're related, Hal. That's my. I've got family from Tennessee with the last name of Sparks.
Well, there's our family tree looks like the Olympic rings down there, so it makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of laying on each other for warmth. And Dean, of course, has a show on Sirius XM. I was on it with him when we were kind of looking back at the week, and here he is on a day which is pivotal in this impeachment trial. They were going to wrap it up today, and then they weren't going to wrap it up, and now they are going to wrap it up, and everybody's kind of back and forth on, wait, why aren't you calling witnesses? What is happening here? Why, and so the reality is, I mean, do you think they had a gun to the head of the COVID relief bill? And, we're going to make you do it for the next week, and we're going to take up all the time, or we're going to object to all of it. And what was your take on the whys and wherefores? Why they might not? Yeah.
Me?
He knows what I think.
Yes. I know, yeah.
I mean, look, I think they probably had some really level-headed discussions about where you're really going with this. And that no matter what, out of fairness, you're going to have to let the Republicans, Trump lawyers, bring up at least one witness. And if you want two, then they're going to want to. And I was looking back during the debate on the Clinton trial in 1999 when Lindsey Graham was the lead House manager there. And they forced the vote. They did party lines, and they got three witnesses to be deposed mid-trial. It was Monica Lewinsky, Vernon Jordan, and Sidney Blumenthal. And they didn't give the Trump guys, they didn't give the Clinton lawyers anything they wanted. They literally did party line and said no to them over and over on every single thing. And I was really wishing in a way the Democrats would do a little of that. But take a step back in the big picture, Hal. The 2 days of the House managers, and even the day before, a little of the footage on Tuesday was great. There's no rehabilitation of Donald Trump by his lawyers. Their argument is a legal argument in a non-legal setting. Their argument is that this is not insurrection or there's no jurisdiction here. They're just playing games. So I think it's very hard-pressed to look at what we saw the last few days and not say Donald Trump incited this. I mean, let's be blunt. This rally happened on January 6th. Donald Trump called for that day. Do you think his supporters knew the Electoral Count Act of 1887 said Congress meets on January 6th at 1 p.m.? That's literally where it says it from.
Yeah.
No, of course not. Not like, yes, I know the Electoral Count Act of 1887.
Yeah.
And we're going to be there. Nobody goes there on January 6th. But that's by federal law. That's the date and the time it must happen. Trump
That's
brought
right.
them there. You think the QAnon shamans? I got my own thing going here. You're like, is that an O? No, it's actually headphones.
Yeah,
But like,
headphones.
I'm starting my own thing.
You're not
I'm
wearing
saying
Mike
yes.
Flynn Q merch, right?
Me and Mike Flynn, yeah, we got merch. We started an O thing now to break off and make her, because Q is just not crazy enough for me. I'm just going to the next letter. I'm going to T.
Understood.
T.
Yeah.
Q is just sold
That's right.
out to the man. How reasonable. All of a sudden, oh, we're stopping now? Just, all right. Sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
you know, that's, by the way, that's another story. It's like, where do the dead ender parts of this go? You know, where do they find a home? Because ultimately we are looking at the remnants of two elements that really formed a cohesive group, which is effectively what was the Tea Party and the anti-Obama birther movement, which was really one chunk of humans there, and they found a bizarre but very tight interlinking with the pro-life evangelicals, the supposedly pro-life. They're also pro-death penalty. They're also pro-war. It's a little crazy. But those groups under Trump, for whatever reason, found the flawed Messiah that they were all prophesying for the longest time. A man, who would, from the city of the angels, who was no angel in the parlance of the golden child. And they managed to line up under him. That is, where do they go from here? Who's the next person?
I just interviewed a few days ago a professor from, he's European. He wrote for Foreign Policy a great article about the parallels between Germany in the 1920s and America, and also the things that are not, to put it in context. Because too many people are like, well, this is like Hitler in 1923 with the beer hall coup attempt, and it's not exactly the same. But the truth, the one big thing he said that we have to collectively do, and I'm glad you have, an audience of people who are engaged, is we really have an obligation to push back against disinformation by the right on issues that are important. And I think, I can't speak for you, Hal, but a lot of times I'd roll my eyes. I go, okay, they're just crazies. What we've learned and what his lesson was in Hitler, and I hate to bring it up, but he talked about Hitler in this, is that if you don't push back against misinformation, it takes root. You've got to fight it. And it's hard for us to reach that because they're not going to listen to my show or your show, but maybe interact in the real world. Maybe our friends have friends on social media where don't roll your eyes, begin to engage on that misinformation, because they're creating an alternative reality, which we saw on January 6th can be weaponized into literally a terrorist attack against our capital. So that's one thing. Second, Hal, the biggest thing that I fear so greatly is the GOP has now begun to embrace violence as a means to retain and acquire power. And that's what we saw on January 6th.
Right.
You had Mitch McConnell say, we don't like QAnon or whatever. You have not seen the GOP line up in unison saying, if you're in the Proud Boys, we don't want you. If you're in QAnon, we don't want you. If you're in a militia group, we don't want you.
And you're not going to, right.
And you're not. And look, the poll, and I wrote about this, polls showed 20% of GOP supporters on average supported the violent insurrection. I want people to realize they told random pollers, there's from Reuters and others, 1 in 5 Republicans saw that violence and said, I want that. And, you mentioned the Tea Party. The extreme wings of the GOP, they don't become more reasonable. That extreme wing becomes the norm. So I will predict that 1 in 5 of the GOP that supports violence for power is going to grow. It's going to be the mainstream. The military wing will become the actual GOP, where they are academically, not hyperbolically, a fascist movement on our soil, which uses violence and the threat of violence to acquire and retain power. We're at a crossroads. How this is not, for some people, they think I'm over the top or you're over the top, or you're saying fascist because they say socialist. No, I'm saying fascist because I'm doing my best to warn people. History tells us we are potentially
That's
going
where this
to a
goes.
dark place.
I also think one of the things that, I always warn people against on my show is anytime somebody gives you a percentage and they don't give you the actual number, or they give you the actual number and they don't give you the percentage, they're hiding part of the story. And a lot of the conversation about where the Republican Party has been going and where it is going as far as the percentage of people who believe a certain thing within the party speaks another tale, which is the number of people who are no longer Republicans, the people who are stampeding out of that party, who've been arguably doing it since Bush. The what they would call is the the sort of Bush-Obama voters that shifted over and started voting for Obama because of the war votes and the like, and the fact that there's a huge difference between who runs the country for real. And that those people slowly left. There's been, since January 6th, something like 170,000 people who have openly denounced or changed their party affiliation in swing states.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, more people per state than the margin was in the last election. That, and whether or not those people voted, I mean, that's either the people who voted for Biden and are happy about it and just decided to finally get off because they get out of there because that's what they've seen from the party, that they're going to go with Trump. So they've just moved off, and they're going to call themselves independents. They're going to vote Republican-esque most of the time, but they might vote for the top of the ticket Democrat because they don't like what the House Republicans look like. That shift is going to continue to happen, and there is going to be a bifurcation of the Republican Party that they're going to have to deal with, whether it's this Patriot Party nonsense or something along those lines. They're going to have to face the fact that their party is splitting solidly, and it happens day by day. It happened again today.
But it's that split is minor. Like the media narrative, not you. I'm not saying this. The right view is that there's a civil war in the GOP. Look at the numbers. Out of 211 House Republicans, 10 voted to impeach Trump. That's not a civil war. That's an exception to the rule.
Right.
In the Senate, you had 50 Republicans. Only 6 wanted to even have a trial of Donald Trump. That's not a civil war. That's the exception to where they are.
Right.
I'm telling you, I warn people daily. I have seemed like I'm a crazy person, but I've only started to use the word fascist sincerely in the last few months. It's not something I would not throw it around. Mm-hmm. That's where they're heading. And because the GOP needs power, they're about power at all costs. And they use undemocratic means before, voter suppression being a great example.
Sure.
They're going to not jettison and eradicate that violent wing because they know that means.
Well, they can't. That's
right.
It's an increasingly large. It's an increasingly large number of those people, though. That's the thing. That's the problem they're dealing with. Is as they drive out anybody who's even remotely reasonable or an old school Reagan Republican, that idea of that human existing, as they stampede out of the party, that is your base now. You have no one left. You shrunk your tent, and I would argue that where fascism has a very specific mechanic to it. They're actually behaving much more, especially in their behavior, as a theocracy. That the idea is that there's a messianic cult concept behind both the ideas of being sort of freedom as an idea, like the Constitution as a Bible, which they obviously throw away because if you don't quote the well-regulated militia part of Second Amendment, then you're not a Second Amendment purist, right? That's the silly part. It's like leaving Jesus out of the New Testament. So I really do think they operate more like a theocracy. Theocracies have their own weight to balance, though. Fascism in and of itself is predicated on how well your corporations do in conjunction with, being aligned with the government, an active oligarchy. That's not what we have in this country. There's too much flexibility in our economy for that kind of thing. We're not talking about oil and olive oil, apples, and land. Like in Italy. It's 65 years ago, or whatever. There's a difference in these, and they really do look at Trump in this kind of messianic terms. I mean, you saw look at Mike Lindell. Did you watch the special? By the way, we got to take a break. And before you answer that question, we got to take a break.
What kind of show is that? I'm kidding.
It's a real live terrestrial radio show. I know. There's a few of us left. We're dead enders, but we're making it happen because we believe in reaching as many people as possible. Not just the elites who can afford satellite.
It's free with most cars.
I'm kidding. They wouldn't have me.
Right to haggle.
Yeah.
Sirius enjoy. Call them up. You'll get
totally. That's right. We'll be back. I agree. Hold on. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this with more Dino Vidal and Johnny Million. We'll be back. It's the House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, WCPT820.com, and of course, streaming everywhere. Patreon.com/HouseParks. We'll be back. So
you have merch? You have your own? Is that a House Parks t-shirt or is that a cat filter?
Of course it is. Of course it is. I'm mad hustling. Of course we are. We all have to, make do. When a pandemic can wipe out your entire livelihood by shutting down all production and live shows, and you got a kid to feed. A kid to feed? And if I can do it by providing people with something they wouldn't have otherwise that's completely optional, you know what I mean? I would hate to be in charge of a resource people need it during, like heating oil. Like the idea that okay, I got to, things are tough. I got to really squeeze people. If you're in charge of heating oil, that's a dick move. You know what I mean? But if you want a t-shirt, get a t-shirt. If you don't want a t-shirt, don't get a t-shirt. That's the lovely thing.
That's great.
Right.
Are you based in Chicago, LA, or where are you based?
I'm in Vegas right now.
Oh, you are. I think you told me that. Sorry, you were on my.
Yeah.
I forgot.
And then Johnny's in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. I love Chicago. But my girl is from Florida and can't stand the cold, so we're here. And I'm in LA a good portion of the time, except when California is locked down for the last year, right? So we've been really sequestered here, and it's been lovely actually. I've gotten a bunch of work done, but man, it's a crazy time, and the world is slowly opening like a flower that's worried about a spring frost. But it's happening,
I'm hopeful. Comedy clubs have been completely closed for a year here in New York City. As a few weeks from now, it's a year anniversary. But they're going to allow weddings in New York starting mid-March, 150 people. So I think they're going to be heading towards allowing comedy. If you're going to allow weddings, you should allow comedy. I mean, it's
unless the priest is funny. I think.
That's the comics are going to get booked at weddings. That's where you're going to want to work. Like I got 3 weddings. Oh, I can do some gigs.
I'm ordained. I can do it.
You are?
I've done weddings. Yeah, I've done weddings. Of course.
I mean, just as a comic, and now before the priest or rabbi or whatever, imam,
right,
whatever you have. But
welcome back to the show. That was the voice of Dino Badala talking during the break. He doesn't have breaks on his show because they can just talk and do whatever they want or whatever. We have to sell stuff. So here we are. So Dean, we were talking a little bit about the path forward because a lot of people, none of us believed that Trump was going to get even this morning, even during the witness part of it, that there were going to be enough Republicans to do this. Just that enough evidence could be presented to shame them into at least recognizing that the fix was in, making it obvious the fix is in, and which is why you would want to have witnesses. Why I would also believe that they want, and the level of depression on Twitter right now is hysterical.
Oh, but it is because of no witnesses. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody's getting sort of kind of aggravated about that. And I'm curious, what the answer will be from them or what the story's coming out from, on the floor, what the gaggles were like. And like, oh, there's this little Senate rule that allows them to torpedo all legislation. So they made them choose between calling witnesses and deposing them over the next couple of weeks and the rescue package. And
So helping Americans or holding a terrorist accountable. This is, I honestly think if we were right after 9/11 and the Republicans saw a way into defending Osama bin Laden because they thought it helped them politically, they would do that. Mm-hmm. That's where they fall on. They are truly just about power. You talk about theocracy. I call it Christian Sharia law, and that they're trying to impose Christian Sharia law. And I say I'm a Muslim, and I, of course, am trying to impose Islamic Sharia law. So I'm really upset. They're competing.
Right, back and forth. You do realize it's the same book, though. It's just written at a different time. The initial Sharia law is Old Testament stuff. It's the same Abrahamic tradition. I mean, we're splitting hairs here. Right. I mean, it's basically Hatfield and McCoy's in the Middle East, honestly. But there are no Muslims trying to impose the Quran as American law. You have an entire Republican Party that is trying to impose the Bible as our law. In fact, people like Rick Santorum and Mike Huckabee have said when they were running for president that you can't change the Bible. You can change the Constitution to agree with the Bible. Literally, this is the kind of garbage you hear. Imagine a Muslim member of like Ilhan Omar going, we cannot change the Constitution. We can't change the Quran, but we can change the Constitution to agree with the Quran. Like, people screaming in the streets. But you say it about the Bible, and it's like, well, that's okay. It's not. It's not okay. No law should be based on religious text. It should be based on public policy considerations. Absolutely. Well, the first and second amendments in the Bill of Rights were written to actively contradict the Ten Commandments. They were designed to directly contradict, because thou shalt have no other gods before me. I'm a jealous God. That's directly contradicted by freedom of religion. Honor thy father and mother, and that is literally free association. You
have a right to a gun, right? Second Amendment.
Right. Yeah. Well, the Second Amendment, thou shalt not kill. Obviously, apparently. Not only can you kill, but you have the right to regulate how and when you'll be doing the killing. But again, this is, I mean, Jefferson famously had a copy of the Quran and took all the miracles out of the Bible because he was a deist, but he didn't believe that, Jesus was just like a superhero character. That the miracle of his existence was his message, not the fact that he could make 2 fish into, enough fish to make fish fingers for everybody. The question becomes, though, and again, I've always said that Trump himself is an evangelical megachurch pastor without the burden of having to stick to the Bible. That's what he is. I mean, he's one of I had the wine and the women and the song, and suddenly Jesus brought me and gave me wealth and fame, and I praise the Lord, but I don't, but the morality part of it, he can throw out the window. So the question becomes is like, how immoral was this? How, what was going on? What happened on the floor that they were like, we're cutting the cord. Because, yeah.
Look, it's disappointing to people. We knew, like, say they had this one witness for 1 hour by Zoom, and they came back and they introduced their testimony. We were going to have the same vote. We know that was going to happen. So look,
yes.
Yeah, I'm personally disappointed. Sure, I want to see this to extend so more Americans see the connecting the dots. But I honestly think the House managers did such a great job. So they would have shown excerpts. I mean, that's what they did in the Clinton trial when they had Lewinsky, Sidney Blumenthal, and Vernon Jordan testified by deposition. Then they just showed little clips, excerpts during the actual trial. That's what we would have seen. And it would be the exact same thing we're seeing now. And the other side could have questioned her, and they could have showed excerpts that weren't as good for us. So we got the exact statements, but it wasn't going to change it. The bottom line is this trial is not holding Donald Trump accountable no matter what, because we know the result. Accountability, even if they convicted Donald Trump, this is not accountability. Donald Trump being criminally prosecuted is accountability. The insanity. What world do you have 200 people arrested plus for committing a terrorist attack, but the mastermind of that terrorist attack walks freely playing golf at his country club? I'm not kidding. Right. This is insane. It's like prosecuting people who helped orchestrate 9/11, except for the mastermind of 9/11.
Yeah,
this is insane.
Yeah. Well, I would argue
should be charged with 2
crimes.
Later.
I would argue that not only should he be charged in that regard, but that the people who have been charged, the 200 or so people, and a growing number, it'll be over 300 by the time they're done, clearly, if not 500 to 1,000 people as far as the lower cases, they should all file a class action lawsuit against Donald Trump because he told them to go there. They thought they were following the orders. They thought the president of the United States had given them orders, and there were enough of them. It wasn't just one nutcase.
Right.
They all get together and go, he sent us. He said we were acting on he said we had to fight like hell or we're going to lose our country. He said stop the steal. He didn't go say talk to the steal.
Right.
And we did. We tried to stop the steal. And he even said, like, Mike Pence didn't do his constitutional duty. The Constitution was being violated. We were told by the commander-in-chief, who can call up any militia he wants. We talked to him for weeks about being, he knew we were in a militia. We talked to John Jr. Here's the phone records. That kind of stuff is a strong possibility, and I think they should sue him.
And Donald Trump, they're like, Lindsey Graham's like, you think Donald Trump was going through Proud Boy chat rooms? No, but he's president of the United States, so he had to get intel briefings because the FBI warned the day before that they're coming, and they're actually saying we're coming for war, quote, war. Of course he was briefed on it. He was gleeful. That's why his response to Kevin McCarthy is, I guess you're not as angry as they are, Kevin. And in that speech, there were some great lines by the House managers. I'm also a lawyer. I'm kind of surprised they didn't emphasize a few other. I just want to read a couple of quick lines because it's not just the January 6th speech, but from that, just for context, to make this common sense, he told that crowd who had self-selected to come from around the country to stop the steal. He told them the Democrats are trying to steal the White House. You cannot let them. He said, they're going to have someone in the White House that shouldn't be there. We're not going to stand for that. He said, we are stuck with the president who lost the election, and we have to live with that. We're just not going to let that happen. What was the peaceful option at 1 p.m. while Congress was meeting to certify the election result to respond to, we're not going to let that happen? There was this wasn't white supremacist lobbying day on Capitol Hill. Bring your white supremacists and meet a congressperson and lobby. Right. He didn't bring them in the week before and go, for the next week, I want you to call members of Congress. He brought them there at that time, at that date, on that time, and unleashed them as his final backup plan when Mike Pence let him down to stop this. There's no other common sense discussion. So I really think it's important and the federal law for seditious conspiracy, which really applies here. I think there's a compelling case, and let a jury ultimately
for a criminal trial. Absolutely. And I think, and between Georgia filing suit, some of the other business problems that he has, he is looking for, he's looking down the barrel of a lot of litigation over the next, couple of years. And there will be no shortage of Donald Trump trials to have in the news after this is done. And quite frankly, insofar as the function of government, I think there's an appetite for moving the thing to deal with Trump out of government.
Yeah.
To move it to like, yeah, we can impeach him. We can go through this thing. We can eat up our time here. But really, this is a legal issue. And we don't want him to even be associated with this place anymore. Let him be a drag on himself as he gets sued, as E. Jean Carroll gets to depose him, as he gets, tried and convicted in Georgia for trying to manipulate the vote there, for SDNY stuff that's coming up, and then ultimately the discovery in SDNY that will point to the fact that Carter Page was a material courier for messages, just wasn't named in emails, and so that's why they didn't get the stuff they wanted on him. That's another story or whatever. We're at the half hour, and I appreciate, Dean, you being with us. Dean Obeidallah's show is fantastic on SiriusXM. It is a reason for getting Sirius.
Wow,
it's a reason for buying a new car.
And John Finkelstein, of course, right after me. Literally, we're back.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I've heard of him. I know people speak of him, but
I'm on the same channel, but we won't even bring that up as well.
That's right. Yeah. She's on early though, so that's a little.
I'm not awake for that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, honestly, we're night people. Look at my hair. Over the course of that. So Dean, thank you for being with us. I look forward to being on your show and you coming back on. We will be watching the stuff as it plays out. And I'm curious, I will be curious in listening for your take on the bill, the literal rescue package that's going to start getting litigated on Monday and hopefully gets passed somewhere by Wednesday or Thursday. Because the votes are already there. It doesn't matter. Again, this is you think we're freaking out about not having witnesses. Wait till you see the Republicans freak out about the recovery package getting passed with 51 votes in reconciliation because Kamala Harris comes down and they get 3 Republicans and they're like, what the heck? Yeah.
Perfect.
So fascinating. Thanks, brother.
Thank you very much for having me on. And it's great to
absolutely. We'll have you again. Everybody
very engaged.
Indeed. So, and what's I have you plugged in. I have you programmed in. What's the number of SiriusXM Progress on the channel?
Channel 127, SiriusXM Progress. I'm on 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 nights a week. And, check it out. I'm on Twitter at Dean Obeidallah. Again, good luck spelling it.
That's right. Exactly. I'm just saying it should have gotten Dino early on. I just be
I was
Dino.
Dino comedy for a while, and then I switched to Obeidallah because I wanted to see the Allah part of my last name. So that's what
Indeed. Your middle name Hussein as well, just because you're a handsome guy.
Abdul, but we don't need to get into it because clearly I'm on every no-fly list. I've taken a bus for 12 years. So
well, as you should, mainly based on your behavior. Let's be honest. It has not, even aside, if there was no 9/11, it would still be you in first class asking for more champagne. Anyways, awesome. Thanks, Dean. Appreciate it. We got to take a break. It's the House March Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We'll be back right after this.
Thanks, friend. I'll check out.
Yeah, thanks so much, brother. Thanks for being with us. I appreciate it. We'll have you on again. Thanks a lot.
Really nice meeting you. Oh, there he goes.
Yeah. And there he goes. Whoop, there he goes. Whoop, there it goes. Dean, Heather says, Dean, want a date? Love your stance on no marriage. Oh, he's against marriage? He's anti-marriage?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I did not know. I did not know that. Ed. Okay, and we're currently
provocation and incitement by the mob, siding with the mob, siding with the violent insurrectionists, criminals who killed and injured police officers sworn to protect us because they were, quote, more upset about the election than Leader McCarthy. Those facts are undisputed. President Trump has not offered any evidence or any argument to disprove them. His lawyers almost entirely ignored these facts in their short presentation. We have only his counsel's false claim yesterday that, quote, at no point was the president informed that the vice president was in any danger, end quote. a claim that is refuted not just by common sense, but by the timeline you have seen and also the vice president's legal team. So there can be no doubt.
They're answering that, which is
at
good.
the moment.
Ultimately, they don't need any more from, I mean, they're not going to get any more from that part of it. And Trump's not going to testify. So that's basically it. Oh, and Stuttering John is asking me if I want to be on at 12:45. Yes. Okay, hold on. I'll be on his show afterwards. Welcome back to the show. So that was fun. Look at us with like all this stuff or whatever. And I'm sure we have a couple of, we had guests. It was impressive. We actually, you know, audio issues aside, it's still, you know, I made up for the fact that we didn't have guests before. Next week, we've got Richard Ojeda, who's a, you know, Army Ranger. He's a guest often on Stuttering John's podcast. And he's just a great dude. And he's got a group called No Dem Left Behind that is raising money for Democrats in red districts that they really think they have a chance to win. We're going to talk to him next week. And Dee Snider of Twisted Sister is going to be joining us as well for a live interview next week. He's going to be on. Yay. I'm very excited. So we're doubling up guests to make up for the fact that I couldn't get a couple, you know, that we had some fallouts. So I'm turning it into a real show. I'm doing my homework. I made a resolution, New Year's resolution, and it turned out, you know, it's been working out for the most part. I mean, it's lovely having you here, but it's, you know, people are very impressed. Yeah. I mean, I always can count on John. So this is, you know, there's obviously a lot of stuff going on right now, and people are going to be watching the final statements, and it's going to be a lot of they're going to request for Mary Trump. I would love to have her on. That would be amazing. I will reach out. So over the course of the next week, you know, the business of actually helping the American people beyond the closure of wanting Donald Trump to be, you know, prosecuted for what he's doing. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Trump. This is to stop him from running for office, you know, and that's been the, you know, the wording around it. Like a lot of people feel is that the Republicans have been able to weaponize this idea that the Democrats are somehow afraid to run against Trump again in 2024, that he's still going to be a force in the party, all that kind of stuff. That's not my reasoning at all, for the record, as a Democrat, for why I would want him disqualified and, you know, convicted and disqualified in an impeachment trial. It is because he would also not be able to have government contracts, and he has shown himself to be completely untrustworthy with tax dollars. And there are a lot of ways that while he was in there, and he and his family got, you know, especially Jared, figured out a lot of ways to make a lot of money off of the federal government. And not being you know, yes, Malcolm is definitely on the list. The idea that he could, you know, get one of those contracts or kind of give himself, you know, through sycophants and buddies that are in there, sort of these never, you know, like dead ender Trumpers who are in there might throw some contracts his way, is more concerning to me than him running for office, because I think he's poison in the next election. He'll be poison in 2024. I think they'll be distancing themselves for most of the year. They're going to hope that he vanishes so that they can stay away from him. And then once E. Jean Carroll's deposition happens, and increasingly the stories of him, you know, sexually assaulting women, you know, not paying his bills, being, you know, a violent insurrection leading maniac. As those stories start to pour out and the books start coming, he's going to be poison. The further they get away from him, the more people feel free to talk openly about him, the worse he will be. And that's that. And they're going to try and find somebody to replace him. They got to start looking for people to be the next Trump. Hawley is hoping it will be him. So you'll see him ebbing and flowing, of playing dumb and hiding out and just going, I was just talking about procedure, that kind of stuff. But he's been scarred by not a decent fellow. No. This is an ongoing problem that the Republican Party is going to have. The Kasich wing of the party is going to be starting to stake a claim with the Mitt Romneys of the world and try to right the ship and turn it back into a respectable party. And a bunch of other people are going to want to Tea Party it into a ditch someplace. And that's something that they're going to have to deal with. It's not up to Democrats to help them clean that part of it up. And I think the 100% the focus has to be on positive legislation. And I think that's where a lot of this action is coming from, and especially the Rescue Act, which is, coming out this week and will be the main thing that's voted on. And again, moving past this sort of almost as swiftly as they possibly can to get away from him, to distance themselves from the stench of Trump, as it were, which is the problem that they have is the base, the electorate, the people who clung to him in the first place. Grant in our chat is saying Nikki Haley will shoot for the presidential candidacy. She already is. I mean, she's been playing with that for a while. She views herself as a potential candidate. In a normal universe, she might actually. The problem that she has is the threat of racism that exists in her own party, that as a woman of color, they may run her but not vote for her. And the fact that she's a woman. The reality is that Sarah Palin had a 70% likability rating in the Republican Party when she ran with John McCain, and a 20% electability rating. That ultimately she became a drag on McCain's campaign because he was old and they didn't want a woman a heartbeat away from the presidency. This is Republican voters. Yeah, this was one of the things that hamstrung their vote. So Barley's asking about Paul Ryan as a possibility coming out of the woodwork idea. Not for years. And he's going to be, he'll stay far away. He's benefiting from the tax cuts he helped implement. And there's a lot of those people who pulled the ripcord and went to private, industry because they know where all the money bags are hidden, because they threw a bunch of pork into their state and they can stand there when it falls. It is like, when a Republican drops out, especially early, if they look like they could have a long career and they could probably get reelected, why wouldn't they? More than likely, it's because it's like a quarterback who knows they can catch their own pass. They literally throw the tax cut into the end zone and then just walk down there and wait for it to land. Yeah, and that's where a lot of them have gone. And a lot of them are benefiting from it, not just, Boehner, who's now a pot billionaire or multimillionaire, I think, quite frankly. But there is, this is the cleanup act that they're going to have to go with. None of us are going to ever be convinced on our side that Trump was anything but aware that he was inciting a riot, happy about it. The stories that come out about it will clarify that over time. The question will be, what are the remnants of the Republican Party? Who will join them in their fight? And will they actually have a coherent policy that they run on at the end of 4 years of, and 3 years of Biden? Because that's when they start running, right? That they're going to have to run on an idea that, something that Biden is doing or has been doing has fundamentally failed in a way that the Trump years were somehow superior to, because they're not going to be able to argue back to Bush. You have to understand you're arguing for your money. If you're arguing for why you should be given the taxpayers' dollars to spend it in a certain way. What you did that was so great and what you were aligned with. And the people who are aligned with Trump, we're going to be digging ourselves out from under his deficit for a while. Somebody's asking me if I saw Junior's video where he's coked out of his skull. Yes, this is where they're talking about
of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a new one?
Yes. Right. Yeah. This is the ongoing, thread in the Republican Party, and it is our responsibility in the, infotainment, political punditry world to play whack-a-mole with any of these folks who think that they're going to normalize any Trumpistry over the next couple of years and try to turn it into a platform that they can try and feed to people. And then there will be another side to it. And we're good. There will be another side to it where we're going to address the policy proposals of anybody who tries to normalize normal Republican philosophy, which has ultimately failed as well. and take that on from an educated and informed point of view, where you're not, because I have plenty of just, I would say, schoolyard insults for people who deserve no better in that world, the Hawleys and the Ted Cruzes of the world, because they do not argue in good faith. Why am I going to get into a policy discussion with any of them? I would rather just mock them incessantly. And then if somebody wants, if Mitt Romney or John Kasich or somebody comes forward with, this is what our actual proposal is, then we break that down on the merits. Then you show it's not a functional piece of legislation. It will harm more than it helps, and that it is designed fundamentally to benefit a very narrow swath of the American public to the detriment of everyone else.
Yep.
You have to be able to, operate with both skis in that regard. The Republican Party, that's the problem that they're going to have going forward, is that, like Dean said, there's a very small group of the Romney crowd that is still trying to stabilize this party, and then a big bunch of them that don't even, deserve a real argument, because they don't really have a real position. It's just based on, baseline bigotry and xenophobia, and they're trying to stiff arm anybody they don't like. So over the course of the next, couple of months, we're going to see if they even try. I mean, we've been through this before. We've been through them, there's going to be a great, reckoning in the Republican Party at one point after when Obama got elected, when he got reelected, they were going to have to look at how they dealt with, with minorities and with women. And what did they do? They went out and got Donald Trump. They said, there is not going to be a reset. There's not going to be a rebuild. As a matter of fact, we're doubling down, because we'd rather be right than happy. We'd rather believe we are correct and live in confirmation bias than actually have a real party where we actually have to present bills that function. The vote, I believe, is later today. If they're doing closing arguments, they can move to the vote right away. They can move to regular order. I would argue they could let it sit over the weekend and let everybody stew over the fact that there weren't any witnesses, because there is a strategy in this. I don't want to always give it away. We got to take a break. Yeah, we're right. We're over that part of it. Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, and Johnny's looking at the chat. He's reading. He's in there with you.
Oh yeah,
he's involved.
Come on to you, people. I get it now.
Yeah. This is getting the Republican Party on the record with Trump, and they are. There's no digging out of this. We'll be back.
I seriously don't know how anybody could. I don't know how anybody could say, like, yeah, I'm not down with insurrection. I'm not down with violence after not voting to convict him.
Right. Honestly, yeah, I mean, they're going to use the idea that this whole thing was a farce to start with. You can't impeach a private citizen. They're going to use that as their excuse. That's their ripcord. That's the lie they will be telling. I mean, it's a crime he committed while he was in office. The disqualification from holding office again because he violated his oath and his dereliction of duty, and is obvious. And again, you need to, and I think more people need to do this. This isn't about whether he can run for office. Maybe he can next time, but he shouldn't be able to get government contracts going forward when you can't be trusted. You can't, if you've got people that he put in office while he was there feeding him cash. That's the argument that should have been made all along. And that's, but I don't know that it will be. And I think ultimately the strategy from the Democratic side, I have to say, is clearly, thank you, well, wait, I'm not going to say it until we come back. How's that for a tease?
Yeah, I was getting all confused. I'm like, are we back already?
Nope, not yet. Yeah. Well, I'm sure people are back and forth about the the lack of a happy ending because we didn't call witnesses. There was this back and forth that there would be witnesses called or a possibility. They read her statement in Congresswoman Butler's statement into the record aloud, which people can't pretend they haven't heard, which is ultimately what witnesses are for. What's the witness for? You can't pretend you didn't hear it. That's ultimately what court is for. You can't pretend you missed it. You were there. If you're a juror, you have to be there and present when everything is said. If you're going to rule on this, you can't go, I didn't know that. Even stuff they put into the record in committee, a lot of times they'll go, nobody knew that. Like, they submitted it into the record. That's for later. The idea is that we should all know this because we're all in the same committee. When you're in this circumstance, people, you want it read aloud, and it was. Her name is pronounced like Butler. That's been the back and forth that I've heard today, whether it's Butler or Butler. Maybe I'm just leaning towards Bueller because of the spelling. Right. The question that the Republicans will have to deal with as they vote to convict is the situation where, and from the Democratic side, and why there is reason why they might not want to make this any bigger than it is, because they know the fix is in. The best reason I can think of, the primary reason I can think of for just letting what is effectively a farcical vote go forward, where you're not going to have enough to convict. You need, and that these people are going to use the fact that they think they're going to say it's unconstitutional as to why they're going to use that as the reasoning. They know the follow-up question in any media interviews they ultimately give are going to be, were the details about Donald Trump's behavior, did that bother you at all? Was there anything in this, in knowing that Donald Trump knew that Mike Pence was in danger and wrote that tweet when he did? That stuff is going to haunt them for, their political career. And it's going to make great ads the next time they run. Better than almost any ad. And even a local Republican who just wants the power of that position is going to have that tool, that arrow in their quiver to go after them. And so since you're not going to get a conviction, the best thing that you can do is enter in as much of this evidence as possible. These witnesses aren't going to show in terms of Trump and McCarthy. They'll deny the subpoena. It'll make it a big fight. The Republicans in the Senate will go, we're not going to move forward with regular business. So they'll put a hold on things or try in an attempt to, because the order of business is already called in terms of, unless there's a specific recess to come back, which is another, and there's a lot of mechanics to this that you can't sidestep, that they will use that fact to hide, from their vote. Ultimately, it's going to turn out that they're going to let him go, that they're going to let him, give him a pass. And then what you do is you hang that around their neck for the rest of they wear that sign that, that acquit, that move to not impeach, that letter I, that asterisk that is with Trump the rest of his life is also with all 45 of those Republicans, or 43 or whatever, because there may be a bunch that, because it was read in and saw what they saw and went, I've got to vote to convict him and disqualify. And that will give them the political clout later on to gather back their party. Some will try to play both sides of the fence, like Lindsey Graham, although what they're actually voting about is the legality of the whole thing. It doesn't matter. I'm voting against convicting because this whole thing shouldn't have happened. And that's what they're hoping will protect them. But the reality is that they all now get asked everywhere about, going forward, everywhere they go, what was your feeling on that day? And when you found out that the president knew that Mike Pence was in danger and did nothing to protect him, or wouldn't call people up, or because then it does. And then the increasing number of stories that are going to come out. And I know everybody's bummed out about this or whatever, but I'm telling you, this is getting them to go on record and vote to acquit him, because it's not going to turn. You're not convincing those people. They're dead enders. So you need to get them on record as dead enders. So that's why there's not a secret vote. Like I said, if there was a secret vote, there's an argument for that they would vote to convict him. But you would also let the entire Republican Party off the hook as if it was just about Trump, and it isn't.
Right.
So as they bring these people forward, they're all going to have to vote to acquit him, and that holds them to it. And somebody, Julie in our chat just said, militias will be emboldened. Every Republican that votes to acquit Donald Trump after the evidence that we've seen and the experience they went through, all of those folks they'll have to deal with the fact that any subsequent violence, any acts of sedition that occur, death threats or actual attempts on people's lives, are going to be forever attached to this acquittal. That their vote to let Trump get away with this will be attached to any further violence. And there's, Malcolm Nance has talked about this. We're going from, a sedition to an insurgency. That there's a big group of these folks that are dug in like ticks, and they're expecting this to go on for a long time. So the Republicans who are voting to, I'm sure there's a group of them that are voting to acquit because they fear those very insurgents, that they're literally too cowardly. They are voting because they don't want that target on their back. But the ones that, that won't alleviate them just because you don't mind that it's on somebody else's back. You think it's fine if that target's on Democrats, but just as long as it's not yours, good Lord, you're actually worse. There's something to be said for someone who's a dead-ender revolutionary, because at least they believe something in theory. But if you're just a coward who would rather someone else get shot, you're just like the lamest character in every zombie movie.
Yep.
So over the course of, this next little bit of, there's a bunch of people, by the way, voting to acquit Donald Trump, and then watch some of them try to rehab themselves by voting for the COVID package in all its glory.
True.
That, that will also, RJ Walker's asking, what about a Republican walkout? I don't see that happening. I think a Republican, if there was a walkout of people who don't want to vote, that would bend the vote to the 2/3, would be an extraordinary, that would be the biggest piece of news. That would be the biggest part of it, is that, that would be one of the most shocking moments in American history. Is where a bunch of Republicans walk out, lower the vote so much that literally there's 100% vote of the senators present because it's all Democrats and the few Republicans that are going to vote to convict. That would be off the chain. Do I think that's going to happen? Not really, no. But the reality is there's going to be, a bunch of these folks who are going to vote to acquit Trump, and they'll say it was because of procedure. They'll say it was because of the constitutionality argument. But in reality, they know he's guilty. They're just scared, or they actually do side with him. And then they're going to go vote for the Recovery Act because they're going to try and rehab themselves. You may even get, and this is a question for everybody, you may get a situation where what really happened on the floor, and whether it happens or not, we'll see, was a bunch of people who are going to vote to acquit, but they're going to vote for an infrastructure package, the immigration bill that they know is bipartisan, and the Recovery Act over the course of the next 6 months, who said, I'm not going to do that if you guys do this. And you have their votes. I don't mean that they're going to, that they're Lucy in the footballing where they're like, I'm not going to vote for it. They really do want it. They really do want the infrastructure bill. They really do want, they're in Arizona, Texas, or New Mexico, or, they're a Southern California Republican, who's going to vote against vote for the immigration bill because they need to steady all this stuff, that are going to go, no, I'll just dig my feet in. I don't necessarily need to. It'll help me, with about 80% of my constituency and hurt me with the 20 that are crazy. And I could go either way. There's definitely a lot of horse trading in that vote today. The question is, will it pay off in that regard? Yeah. But ultimately, the weight of it now is on the Republican Party. The weight of this decision is now on the Republican Party, if anybody within their party cares, because again, they're wheedling down to nothing but maggots and Trumpsters and dead enders. So this is a big, we're going to see over the next week whether this was a gamble worth playing, whether blowing off the witnesses and just moving on because they know the vote was there will get us the recovery package almost in its entirety. And that will save lives.
Yep.
So we're back with, do we go after Cheney for his no bid contracts, or do we fix the economy so that fewer people starve to death and don't have their heat turned off in the middle of a nor'easter? The Republicans always count on this. There has to be a reckoning one day. It won't be today, though. And it won't be over the next couple of months, but it's got to be daily. It's got to be a daily reckoning in terms of absolutely being unwelcome in any kind of reasonable political discussion going forward, and mocked as such. We're at the end of the show. Thanks so much to Dino Badala and to Chris Titus and to Johnny Million for being on the show today. It's just a wonderful thing. Everybody in the chat room, they spoke very highly of you, both Titus and Obadala, because it's true. The people in our chat room, and I'm talking to you trolls, and regulars alike, are a fantastic part of our show, and I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us all the time. I'll stick around for a little bit of a post show, and then I'm going to be on Stuttering John's podcast at starting at 12:30 my time. We'll see you guys next week. If you just listen on the radio, thanks so much for listening. It's the House Sparks Radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Support us. Patreon.com is a great way to do it. /Hal Sparks. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. That's how we finance the show and have lovely people like our guests and technology that allows us to do it. And we're trying to get a new computer because the one that blew up is literally over there on the shelf behind me.
Oh, my.
It's hilarious. Oh, yeah. Smoked it. Thank you, Johnny Million. See you guys later. Stay tuned for Dick K in Chicago. There we go. Yeah, that's me playing lead guitar. It's a good time. It's a little bit. Absolutely. Cheers. Thanks very much. Cool. And we'll sign off on that guy. And then it's just us. And then Johnny can go for, are you going running? What's happening?
I think I am. It snowed a lot more than I wanted it to.
It did.
So I'm going to have to see what's going on out there. It was supposed to stop at like 7 this morning, and it just keeps snowing.
Connie Kelly in our chat room saying, I've heard a number of sources that Republicans are going to walk out so they have the cover of not voting to convict. That'd
be nice.
But if enough of them go and they don't vote and it tips the 60-40, that's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah. So in terms of that, we shall see what we shall see. And if they think that that's going to happen, that would be the reason why you don't call witnesses. Don't call witnesses. A bunch of us are going to powder and buzz off. Yeah. So anyways, go run in the snow like Rocky, you maniac.
All right. Wish me luck.
Yeah, I always do. I always do. Every single day, Johnny Million.
No,
I think about you and I go, it's true. I go, I hope you're having a great day. Johnny's doing good.
Buddy.
Absolutely. All right. See you later. Okay. In chat room, it's just us now. Okay. See you, Johnny. I think we're alone now. It's chat room and me, and we're hanging around. I wanted to, let's see how do I bring this up on here? Yeah, there it is. Boink. There we go. Now I can overlay the chat and talk to you guys. This is good. And I wish it was on the other. It's not on. Why isn't it on the other side? It's so very, very, very strange. Hold on. I'm going to try and it should. I don't know. Like you can't move the chat to the other side of the thing. So it looks like I'm looking in the wrong direction. So let me try and do this. I'm going to drag this. I'm going to take the chat over here. And then no, that's the wrong way. It's over here. Yes. So that's right. Okay. Now it looks like it. So, it's all very chatty. Yes. I have to do, I got to, put by the way, Facebook moderators, this is when you actually get tested. Chat is definitely right wing. You think? Yes, it's very right wing. It's to my left, though. What does that mean? Get sponsored for, I should do an open mic. Yeah. Don't care. It looks good. Oh, thank you, Brad. As long as you can hear it and it works, I don't really care right now. So here, I'll show you guys. This one, this guy's been a blessing. He really has. This is my Mac, the old Mac Pro that looks like it's got a planter. It looks like it's just wicked cool looking. But it like design wise, it's got a little kind of some limitations. But it's got a sound processor and enough RAM. It was running the show for a good long while. I think, quite frankly, the logic board is what did it. And the tests that I've been able to do with my other computer, I think I burned the logic board out on it. So I'm going to have to, I'll get it repaired because it's still a functional computer or whatever, but it just can't, it will just keep doing that because processing video is a heavy lift. So yeah, we cooked it, kids. We should be very proud. Who are the moderators? I thought, let's see. I thought I was a troll. I didn't recognize the name. No, it does look a bit like, you never seen one like that? Well, it's usually got there's a little case that goes over top of it. I took it off because I was checking, I was pulling RAM, putting it in an old Mac Mini that I have to see if it works, that kind of stuff. The motherboard or the processor, neither. The logic board. The logic board is a separate thing, and most of the computing about the computing in that one, anyways, and most Macs is done on the logic board for as far as video goes. So, yep. Yeah, I'm back on YouTube. We're back everywhere. And I'm going to join. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock. What I'll do is I'll take a powder in like a half hour and then come back on. Oh, my t-shirt. Thanks. Yeah, it's a happy cat. And by the way, Gong Xi Fa Cai to everybody who's celebrating Chinese New Year for the next week. It's pretty great. Gong Xi, Gong Xi. It's the year of the ox. So I don't know if any of you are full of bull, but this is a good year for that. And then, of course, thanks. Let's see. Yeah, and I'm a rooster, so ox is really good for rooster. So it's pretty solid. Chat's giving you a headache. I'm sorry. It does go by very fast. By the way, just so you guys can deal with what I watch when I'm doing the chat, and you're like, you never see my chats. Yeah, that's part of the reason, because I have 4 sites going at once. I'm a rat, he says. You mean you were born in the year of the rat? I understand. I can read some Chinese. I read like a first grader. It's not, very basic stuff. Q snatch. Sheep, snake. There you go. It boings. Oh, it does? Does it make a boing sound on your side? Is there an audio? Oh, sorry about that, guys. Is there a noise when you're watching the chat on my show? Does it go boop, 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 boop like that? Well, I appreciate you appreciating me reading the chat at all. Just so you get an idea of how hard it is when I look over and it's, I'm like, hey, let's check in on the chat so I can get some idea what everybody's talking about. So anyways, you guys, oh, here we go. There you go. Year of the rat. There's the ox. There you go. Boing, boing, pow, pow, boom. This is what I get to see. And so you'd be amazed. I mean, it's kind of amazing that I grab as much coherent stuff as I am able to do during this. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, oh, here's an ox there. Congrats, Ryan. So appreciate you guys. By the way, there have been a few people who have been Venmoing during this difficult time to help with the computer fund, which I greatly appreciate. If it wasn't for the wonderful and talented Robert Glenn, thank you, Rob, we wouldn't have even had the show on entirely, because I was able to do the live stream with the laptop that he gifted to the show. So, wow, this has been, that was the computer that saved us last year before. So, this is, over the course of this, as I've tried to, grow the show, I'm increasingly pushing the limits of what is possible in this, in my home studio. So piece by piece, there may be that I need a backup PC for doing the streaming stuff because of the software that's often used. So yes, everybody, big love to Rob Glenn. Absolutely. How do you know what we are? Ox, rooster, pig. It depends on the year of your birth and where in that year. Because usually the foggy part happens, in January because of when the Lunar New Year is. So you may find the year that you were born, but if you were born in January or early February, you could very well be the animal that was the year before. So, which screen is Periscope, right or left? Yeah, they're all over the place. I'm trying to keep you guys sane. Guys, don't dig into any of this too much. Don't rest your emotional well-being on how any of this stuff goes. I mean, honest to God, there is always a tomorrow. You have to look at it as such. And Trump is in for a round of hell over the next years of his own making, right? Without any help from the Democratic Party, without anybody, seeking to, go through the normal measure of impeachment and those kind of things. And we'll see how this vote turns out. If there's a big Republican walkout, so they can avoid if they all vote present and he ends up getting convicted because of that, it's hilarious. I'm for it. Does it actually matter in terms of that? No, it won't affect the outcome of a criminal trial. If he's not impeached, it'll just look like it was politics. That doesn't affect the law. Ask Rod Blagojevich if getting elected helped him avoid criminal prosecution. No, he had to be pardoned by Trump, an equally conniving and ridiculous human being. So, this is So I'm just checking news real quick. David Schoen, Trump's lawyer, quit on Thursday night. That's funny, for a little bit, and then had to be talked into going back. He was probably insulted by Trump. Trump probably made fun of him, and then he just walked out. I'd love to think it was for some sort of legal reason, but I'm not buying it. Amos, exactly. Trump's gone from power. Done. Let this be, in terms of, the issues that, we're dealing with. Don't get so caught up in it turning out day after day like you want it to, because there's a lot more room for this to actually happen. I'm trying to find that. Yes, the computer fund is definitely ongoing. Yes, it is. I think that would be a lovely idea for the box. Appreciate that. I'm curious. Somebody's asking, do I like WandaVision? Yes, I do, actually. We've been watching it. It's curious. It's sad. I knew that was Alex Parks pushes the limits of what is possible. We push the limits of what is plausible. Thanks very much. That's true. Yeah, no, we live in an improbable time. So there's elements of possibility there that could happen because everything's just a whatever. But, Trump has bigger fish to fry than even the fact that he could run for office again. Seriously, there's so much stuff that's going to happen in the next 4 years. Part of Trump's win, folks, I'm telling you, was part of the reason he got elected in the first place was because people were like, I don't know, let's give it a try. We've had politicians. Let's try a businessman, right? He was an unknown entity. Now he's known. He's never had to run an election where he ran on a record of anything. So this is going to be a major weight for him to carry around. Yes, it is now. That's true. It is the year 4719 in the Chinese calendar. Have a drawer of obsolete Apple products. Boy, yeah, you do. Come on, you got. I just showed you guys my original Mac, 128K. Yeah, here come the rooster. Walking tall, machine gun man. He spit on me in my homeland. Gloria, send me pictures of my boy. I'm trying, Artslin. I really, really am. I keep my blood pressure. What was it? I'll keep my blood pressure down by stopping watching what's going on and do my taxes. Yeah, well, I don't know if that'll do it. I understand you're pissed. That's it's a reasonable response. Just do not give don't give them room to own you like that. Don't do it. Because the fix was always in. You know what I mean? Even if we had a week of witnesses, they were still going to vote the way they were going to vote or walk out. He's got bigger fish to fry. Amy, this is not the final chapter by any stretch. I'm not worried. Need a power trio behind those vocals? I agree. Ooh, ooh. They can't even be there, Hal. If they show up, they have to vote present. That's right. Then we will still need 67 to convict. That's right. They would have to walk out. That's right, Act. So much truth to the emotional well-being part. Hal, since I began watching Hal, I've been able to bring my own anxiety to manageable levels. Thanks so much to him in the chat. Well, most the chat. Yeah, some of the chat can be a little aggravating. I understand. But that's, I mean, it's, again, the extent to which you're most helpful is where you have the most control over your own mental and emotional well-being. And we decide how we're going to feel about things before we actually have a feeling. Unless we're startled by a noise, all emotions are the result of our judgments about what things mean. If my friend yells dickhead at me, I smile because he's my friend and I know what he means by it. If a stranger does, I feel slightly different, maybe bemused, depending on my judgment of that person's character. But it's my feelings and judgment. My judgment comes first and then my feelings. You've made a decision about how you're going to feel about stuff before you start feeling, especially when it comes to politics or sports or any kind of external activity that you have no direct control over. Those are not your genuine emotions. They are based on your decision. And I made a decision a long time ago that I don't give my emotions over to those kind of circumstances. I maintain my emotional state because those things are out of my control. And what I focus on is where I can be most helpful to drive things in the direction I want going forward. It keeps you in the opportunity mindset in terms of what you're seeing. And it's why I can bring some level of value to you guys, because I can present options for the circumstance, that hope for the future, that ends up being true, by the way, like literally almost all the time. Like my batting record, guys, is pretty solid. You got to admit. Glad to start discussing nerd shit now. Yes, absolutely. How do you Venmo money to me? On Venmo, you go to, it's at Hal Sparks, and there's this little picture up in the corner, and you can take a picture of it with your phone, and it should take you to the site if it works. If not, you go to, I think it's venmo.com/Hal Sparks is how it works. Can't Stop Lying knows better. No more. Yeah, that's a great point. Can't Stop Lying. No more shadows in America for Trump to hide in. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. The sad part is people still believe him. Well, people still believe that, David Koresh had a point, or that, that the people at Ruby Ridge had the right to open fire on law enforcement, or that, the Unabomber was smart. Can I just say, for the record, as a smart person, the Unabomber's understanding of most of the philosophical things that he espoused was cartoonish, repetitive, dull even. He dazzled with big words because of where he went to school, but his understanding of philosophy and economies and the like were as weak as Ted Cruz's grasp of the law. The Unabomber was a moron. I like this idea that somehow serial killers are super smart, when in reality all they do is just break a pattern on how most people are elected. Let's see. What the Swedish politicians are very thankful that all of the attention goes to the U.S. I bet they do. I bet they are, Heather, or Aggie. And thank you, Heather. I appreciate it. It's going to be a rather large endeavor, so better to spread it out over a lot of people giving very little than expecting a lot from one person. So I appreciate the offer, though. I'd rather not it be weighted in anybody's pocket. If again, that proves that the show appeals to a broader group of people. If that's the value of sort of the crowdsourcing idea. Yeah, I mean, I've watched a bunch of these. It is Good News Saturday, Mary. See. I've watched a bunch of these, like, you know, and I liked Silence of the Lambs and that kind of stuff. But in reality, like, the majority of these folks get away not because they're amazing, is because they're unpredictable until they are. Nobody's, you know, until we can train up psychics, silly. Yeah. Spoiler alert, right. What was that about? Yeah, these are theories that the Unabomber was also the Zodiac killer. No. The Zodiac was a whole different person. The guy, Ted Kaczynski, was the Unabomber, and he was a complete coward. He was an egomaniac and an asshole, and he had the benefit of early education, and at a time when they were sending kids that were good in math to college to kind of show the rest of the world how good our education system was. Silly. But the point is that, you know, you can't, if you're led around by the nose, by the narrative all the time, you're always going to be, they're going to be setting you up for the next, emotional tag, because that's how that's how clickbait works, right? It's why I don't, if you'll notice, and it's hard to fight sometimes because I see how some other people do it and it's very effective. Yeah, I saw the movie with Paul Bettany starring, and Paul's great, but it's ridiculous. There has to be, well, how do I phrase this nicely? There has to be a point where ethically you just go, I'm just going to make a cute, maybe enticing title for my show that's legit and points to what I'm actually talking about, instead of just clickbaiting people into this whole, like, hell destroys blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's just yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah, Jillian, clickbait absolutely works. But that's why it works. And if you know why it works, then don't get, if you're aware of how it functions, you can avoid that function. If you know how it works, you can have it not work on you. You can spot clickbait a mile away after a while, after you've been suckered by it a few times and you're paying attention. It's just important. And again, just like, we talk about the percentages versus numbers aspect of it because you're being led. Don't buy into necessarily the narrative that you're being hit with, because you're going to be dragged around and you're going to spend your life being dragged around. And I don't want to do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you here. I offer my position. If anybody hates it, they let me know. And if they walk away from it going, that didn't turn out to be true, that's on me. And that's fine. But I don't present some sort of BS narrative that I'm destroying people or seeking to destroy people. You know what I mean? The CIA was training psychics. Yes, it's true. I totally agree. I'm feeling conned and therefore stop watching. Feeling being conned and I stop watching. All right. So that it's crucial. Let me get this one in here. All right, there we go. It's crucial. It's simply, thanks, Sue. It's just crucial that you take control about, you make a decision about what things are going to mean to you before they get sprung on you. One of the ways, it's like an old trick, how to beat sticker shock. If you grew up poor, you know this. You'll have sticker shock when other people don't. The normal cost of things will make you go, and that's embarrassing. And as you're trying to bring yourself up in society, as it were. And so to avoid sticker shock, it's kind of like how you trick a lie detector test. You expect something that's actually worse. You tell yourself, like, something's going to cost $1,000, and you know it's going to cost $1,000, and you've got 800, and you're like, crap, it's going to cost $1,000. I only got $800, and you're going to have it all over your face that you don't do it. So you do an exercise in your head where you go, it's going to cost $5,000. This is going to cost $5,000. This is going to cost $5,000. And you tell yourself that silently to yourself. And then when they say it's 1,000, you actually feel relieved a little bit. You're like, all right, we'll figure out how to do that then. All right, I've got 800. We're going to I'll give you 200 when the other thing, then you start working. Then you have emotional control. You don't go, what am I going to, you know what I mean? And you see how people live in that space a lot, and it controls you. The same thing is true of, you can even manipulate yourself to invert the manipulation that's happening in the media. You can do that whenever that's happening. If you're expecting something bad to happen and it's kind of on the horizon, make it, envision it being way far worse. And then when it actually happens, you're like, all right, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And you see how the difference between somebody who's like, I didn't think that was as bad as I thought it was going to be, has a much more relaxed space that they're in than other people. And then you have more control of yourself. You're not in a panic mode. You can think, you can figure out your reply. Will Trump wind up doing any serious jail time? Well, it won't be funny. But there's a very strong chance. Trump is not above the law. He is going to be facing some gnarly stuff. Oh, thanks, Sandra. I appreciate that you like my cat shirt. There is some clearly there are some gnarly charges coming his way that he cannot avoid. It might cost him a pretty penny, and he might turn it into, losing his business license and paying a huge fine and those kind of things for some of them. But some of them have got some time, and then you're going to see him walking around with a walker and pretending he's too sick to go to jail and all that kind of stuff. He's going to be threatening people that if they put him into jail, it'll be like Guantanamo. What are your thoughts on, let's see, what is this? What are your thoughts on how Trump will get any lawyer for the Georgia and SDNY cases? Well, that's a real problem for him, because he's going to have to pay. This isn't a show trial. These aren't show trials like the Senate. He's going to have to pay somebody that actually can file some stuff and looks at the evidence. The problem is they're going to be talking plea deal within days. So yeah, that's the problem that he has. His problem isn't going to be the lawyers he gets; it's the evidence that's against him. Because there's no discovery on his end. He knows exactly what he did. Let's see. I'm really. Yeah, and this is Eileen, I agree with this. Let's face it, his health is very bad. He won't be able to run in 24. No, especially after this, after the stories that he was way sicker with COVID than they let on. No question. Hal should do the whole show with his English accent. I don't know. No, I don't want people to believe that somehow I'm, I don't want them to think that I'm some sort of elite, that I'm smarter, so I'm trying to be smarter anyways than I actually am. I just don't think it's appropriate, right? I think Brad's saying that he'll run to Putin. Well, there's an argument there, at least financially. I just don't know where the problem is. Joe, I might have locked him up, right, Brad? The problem, and you're going to make me do it, aren't you? You're going to make me do this whole rest of the show in a British accent. It's terrible. I've got things to do. I can't just talk about this all the time. Hal, if Trump goes to jail, does he lose the Secret Service protection? Yes, he does. There will not be two Secret Service agents sharing a jail cell with him. A Brit from Kentucky. Well, a Southern accent. The Brits call the Southern accent slave pigeon, due to its mixture of English, French, and African dialects, is where the Southern accent in America came from. So, yeah. Can't wait for the free Trump marches. Oh, my God, they'll be glorious. Oh, beautiful. Trump's idea of the art of the deal. Yeah, art of the plea deal. Is that what we're looking forward to? Trump will look for, but I guarantee it. Like, Trump will make a case that he can't afford a lawyer, and he'll have to have one appointed to him by the court, because it's really just his business has money. He doesn't have money. Rudy was served this week with a $1.3 billion lawsuit. He's done too. This is bad. And Ellen Wood is going to represent Sidney Powell in her case. Like, it's ridiculous. These guys are insane. He'll have Secret Service protection in prison. I don't think so. I think it gets revoked. If you get charged with a federal crime and you do time, you know, they might, Secret Service might be involved in the overall security, but he's not going to have like Secret Service detail while he's in there. He's going to be in jail like everybody else. Do the John Lennon accent. I never said I was more important than Jesus, just that I was more well known. The only way to remove Trump by us, the voters, the only way he faces justice is the courts. Both things have always been true. This is, yeah, absolutely, Carl. Think you're good at well, thank you, if that's for me. I try to be appealing. It's so funny that, like, suddenly, because of Stuttering John, everybody's all up in my impersonations and accents. And Axe is saying Putin has no use for him anymore. I agree. There's a, and I'm way behind in the chat. I have to scroll forward, but yeah, there is no, yeah, he will get diapers in jail. You get all that stuff. Yeah, he's, this is not good. This is not good for him, you know, and if he snakes by the impeachment, you know, without getting convicted, there's arguably a sympathy vote in him getting convicted and not getting prosecuted. Look, he's already been impeached. He can't run for office again. Do you really have to charge him with this? That kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So a bunch of people are like, I feel like I got punched in the gut. Like, I don't feel that way. What? There's no reason for impeachment clause in the Constitution. None. What? Carl, I noticed you reacted to someone. Of course there's reason for an impeachment clause in the Constitution, unless they're arguing that, there's no reason for it if we're not going to use it properly. Right? That would be the argument, I suppose. So yeah, this is going to be, this, you know, we'll see how this, you know, plays out. I'm going to see real quick. Are they playing here?
Just a House member. The trial will end and we'll resume our lives and our work. But for some, there will be no end. No end to the pain of what happened on January 6th. The officers who struggled to recover from the injuries they sustained to protect us. They struggle to recover today. The families who continue to mourn those who they lost on that terrible, tragic day.
Let's see if this does it.
I was struck yesterday by defense counsel's continued references to hate. One of my favorite quotes of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it's one that has sustained me during times of adversity. I suspect it sustained some of you.
Yeah, I'm going to let you guys go so you go watch this rather than listen to it sideline on mine.
Hate is too great a burden to bear.
Because this is still ongoing and I'm curious to see what their response is going to be. And we'll watch some of that. And then, like I said, I'll be back on in an hour on Stuttering John's podcast, and we'll be talking about a lot of this stuff. I have no doubt if you want to jump back on then. And yeah, this is the best version of the peaceful transfer of power that they had. Yeah. And guys, what does this really tell us? That on the one hand, it's great that we won Georgia. On the other hand, we got more work to do to make our base broader in terms of who's in the House and who's in the Senate. We need to increase our number in the Senate by at least 10 over the next 2 cycles. That's got to be first and foremost. There need to be 10 more Democratic senators. 10. And then in the House, we have to maintain and grow the majority there by a lot. Seriously. We need to start chipping away at the independents and what would be reasonable Republicans. Start creating some genuine, palatable compromise on issues that they feel are very dear to them, where we really don't have an issue with it, and start building those bridges first. The easy bipartisan stuff, breadcrumbing it, as it were, treat them like a feral cat. And then over time, as voters, not as legislators, because the legislators will represent the activist class of whatever particular group is holding on to power in that particular zone. And then when it comes to Republicans, it's largely like insane corporate interests and the Tea Party maggot crowd. But we have a responsibility to grow the number. And it means, by the way, unfortunately, in some places, more Joe Manchins. Sorry, but there are a lot of places you aren't going to get a Bernie Sanders in the next 30 years until you've had 15 to 16 years of a Joe Manchin in that place. That's just the reality of a culture. If you're going to shift a culture over time, you're not going to do it all at once. This ain't surgery. This is an exercise plan. We're not trying to give the entire South a lap band. We're trying to get them to eat right and exercise. That doesn't happen overnight. And you got to use language they understand. That's just the reality. All right. I will see you guys in a little bit. I'll be on Stuttering John in about an hour. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Let's see. I shut this show down. When I do it this way, it's very different. Thank you guys for all the support and love today. And thank you for for offering to help out with the computer and stuff and all that. It's been an amazing journey as we go along, trying to balloon our capabilities here. We'll get there. And I can't thank you guys enough. It's pretty beautiful. And I will see you guys in a little bit. All right, let me see. I've got to sign out properly. This is nice. I like this one. This one's kind of cool. Yeah.